I'm just your average parent trying to do right by my kids. Never thought I'd have to, deal with something like this. It was a regular Tuesday afternoon. The kids' toys were scattered everywhere. Then there was a knock at the door. My heart sank when I saw who it was.
Hello, I'm from Child Protective Services. We've received a report and need to inspect your home.
I didn't know what to do. They wanted to come in, look around, talk to my kids. My hands were shaking. I felt like I was doing something wrong even though I knew I wasn't. But then, I remembered something I'd read online about knowing your rights. I took a deep breath and said, "I'm sorry, but unless you have a warrant, I can't let you in." The CPS worker looked surprised. They weren't used to parents knowing their rights. It wasn't easy, but I stood my ground. I protected my family's privacy that day. Remember, when CPS knocks, know your rights. It can make all the difference. CPS victims need a hero, need a hero. CPS victims need a hero, need a hero. Let me break it down for you one time. CPA snatching kids is a crime. We need a punisher, the one and only kind. Exposing their corruption, their demise. Families in distress, who do they turn to? We need the punisher to do what he do. I think the time is now, the time is overdue. If you're a CPS victim, then this song is for you. CPS victims need a hero, need a hero. CPS victims need a hero, need a hero. Someone to expose the corruption, stop the abduction, stop the destruction. CPS punishment is the function. When they snatch the kids, it's disgusting. For the victims, we stand. Bring back the family, bring back the fam. I hope you understand. A CPS victim needs a helping hand.
All right, guys, wait till you hear this story. This is going to blow your minds. I am so glad that this person had just tuned in to Henry's show, what we just watched. It was so much that we had to push back, bringing back Brenda, because this is just some, this could change the way that this game's played all the way around. So I'm not even going to hold off any longer. Let's get Becky out here, because it's her story to tell, and let's hear it. Hey, Becky, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great now. I mean, this is crazy. The stuff that you were just telling me to start this. I don't know how nobody's ever even spoken about the things that you've found. But let's speak about it. What do you got?
Well, I mean, I watch Gunner shows a lot, and I literally was watching the broadcast tonight and was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, he's talking about everything that this document lists. I'm like, there it is. I'm like, again, he just kept on. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I have got to try to get into somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I have been trying to get in with a lot of different people, and everybody just throws it out. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I will
Right.
eventually get there to the right person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even understand how. You just showed me parts of it. I mean, there's 100 pages to the thing that you were showing me, but just tell everybody what it is that, or tell the story how you even preface this, and how did you come across this?
Okay, so I did email it to you, just so you do
Okay,
know.
perfect.
You have a copy now.
Yes.
But I'm a chat GTP guru, and I was talking with it one day, and I said it brought up a link, and it brought it up, and I clicked on it, and it said child abuse and neglect MOU, and I was like, what is this? It's on my county's website for my county commissioners website. I click on it, and I said, I got to reading the first page, and I was like, wait a minute here. Did they really just do this? Did they really just, the commissioners voted yes on all this? And I get to reading further and further and further. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I couldn't even believe it. And I saw the judge's signatures. I know it's the judge's signature because, well, I've been in the same court numerous times. So I know it's the judge. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there it is. I was like, these people were dumb enough to actually put it in a document and sign it. I was like,
you can say that for real. Yeah, for real. It is too. It's just it's incriminating to them. And this tells everything that we all speculate. It tells everything that we've all, because there's been nothing of certainty yet. I mean, even with Gunner's case, we found a couple of things that say, oh yeah, it's close. And yeah, they do this. Yeah, this said that we're right.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been trying to telling everybody, like, you guys are right. Everybody's right. Yes, they are right. And here, I have the proof to prove it. Here it is. Because this was it. And I said, oh my God. I said, there it is. But then when I turned it into the federal court, and they just looked at me like, what do you want me to do with this? And I'm like, oh no, you can't do that.
When you went to the federal court with it, what were you going there? What was your reason for going there? What were you doing? How were you trying to apply this? Like, what were you trying to do?
I was trying to apply it to a federal habeas corpus for the unconstitutional deprivation of child custody for my husband's 2 children. The CPS had come in, and they had deemed him fit, and his mother had petitioned the court for custody of his children. He didn't think anything of it. CPS had already deemed him fit. He's like, there's nothing to worry about. 10 days later, he's unfit. According to the court. According to the court. Now, not by CPS standards. I mean, by CPS standards, he was A-okay. He was fit parent, no neglect, no nothing. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we didn't think, at this trial that they were going to, say, okay, well, we're giving the kids to his mom. I was baffled.
This court just handed the children to his mother with no findings of abuse or neglect, no substantiation, no nothing. They just said, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and give this to his mother, and then call it a day. No termination of rights.
Nope.
No, not even a CPS investigation, because he's been cleared.
Yeah.
10 days apart.
Wow. Holy smokes. But then they ask him for a drug test, right?
Yeah, then they ask him for a drug test.
For no reason.
Correct. For no reason. And then, mind you, the same court that we had went to for CPS just 10 days prior, we was in, 10 or 15 days prior, we was in court. Same court. Everything. He does a drug test. He supposedly fails for a substance that they don't even test for.
Nice. This seems legit. Right. Perfect.
And then they refuse to give him the results, and they keep them in an unofficial file.
An unofficial file. I wonder what consists of an unofficial file.
Yeah, and an unofficial file, mind you, he only took 1 drug screen, but somehow there's 3 different results in this unofficial file.
Oh, nice. Very good. Because they only usually take 2 samples anyway, so how do they get 3 results? Even if they just went by their standard. Oh. I guess that's theirs, and then the truth. I don't know which way that is, like, how does that work?
Yeah.
you know. So then what? So then what happens?
So then we appeal it.
Mhm.
We appeal it. Well, we weren't afforded an attorney because it was brought in by a civil matter. So we weren't afforded an attorney. So we weren't able to get a transcript because, well, they wanted us to pay $500 as a deposit for the transcript. So any objection, mind you, any objection that we had to the magistrate's decision, we would have had to have a transcript for.
Hmm.
And then when we appealed it, because I filed a motion to vacate, I kid you not, in the juvenile court August 21st, 2024. He still has not ruled on it. It's still sitting there.
A year
A year.
that this has been. And
Yep.
what was that again? I'm sorry, I was trying to write it down. I was writing something else. What did you file on 2021, August 21? A motion to dismiss or a
A
motion
motion
to
to vacate for fraud
motion to
upon the
vacate?
court.
Yeah. And still no ruling on that.
Still no ruling to this day.
Wow. Holy
Again,
smoke.
after taking it to federal court, filing the habeas petition. But yeah, we went to appeals. But then the appellate court couldn't do anything because they didn't have a transcript.
Wow. No, wait a minute. So that's not a court of record?
Well, it is a court of record, but we couldn't provide it. We couldn't get the transcript. We didn't pay for the transcript.
Right.
And we would have had to pay for the transcript and provide it to the appellate court in order for and submit it to the appellate court.
Right.
In order for them to be able to review the transcript.
Right. So do you guys, not this is none of my business, but have you applied for being indigent? Did you guys try to do that? Did they approve you?
Yes.
Then why would you have to pay for the transcript?
Because it was a civil matter.
And it's the court.
That is what the clerk of courts told me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said, and I even told him, I said, that's because my husband was arguing with him. He's like, well, that's not right. She's like, well, that's our policy. He said, I said, policy is not law.
Right.
I don't care what your policy says. Your
Yep.
policy is nothing. The law says that I submitted the affidavit of indigency. I had everything, and had it in the Court of Appeals. Nope. And really technically the Court of Appeals could have asked for it, and they could have ordered it.
You could have requested it, right?
Yeah, but they didn't.
Okay.
And they agreed with the lower court because they didn't have an actual transcript.
So they couldn't rule on it.
Wow.
And I was blown away. I didn't even know what to do at that point.
I wouldn't blame you. Like at that point, you're just sitting there like, I'm sure it's
Dumbfounded.
yeah. Like I don't even have a word for you myself either. Like that's just crazy. How long have you guys been fighting this?
So his mom filed for custody in 2023, in July of 2023.
So she just all of a sudden decides that she's going to file for custody. I mean, was there an investigation or anything before that?
No investigation, no CPS investigation. There was no open CPS investigation. There was nothing. She was mad because, well, she's a narcissist and she couldn't have control anymore.
Right.
Because it was, okay, I want to see my grandkids when I want to see them. Well, I'm not going to ask their dad if I can have them. I'm going to just show up at my son's house and just expect to take them.
Right.
Well, he's trying to be a dad. He got full custody in 2022. And, so he hadn't even had his kids a little over a year and a half. And we're all still trying to get to be a blended family.
Right.
I have 3 kids of my own. And he has 2 kids, so I mean, we're still trying to get acclimated to being a, blended family. And, but when she's undermining him and his authority,
just ruining everything.
Yeah, it's not working. Well, then when I told him, you need to put a stop to this because it's only going to continue to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
She knows no boundaries, so you need to put a stop to it. She got mad and she went and filed for custody.
Wow. Holy smokes. So then you find this MOU.
Then I find the MOU after kids had been adjudicated. Well, kids hadn't been adjudicated, but he had been said that he was unfit and they gave him to his mom. Yeah. Then I find this MOU and I'm like, hold up a minute. I'm like, this was my game changer.
Right. So it's a memorandum of understanding, correct? That's what an MOU is?
Yes. In a
Wow.
lot of states, I've looked into it. A lot of states have them, but they're
Okay.
not necessarily called a memorandum of understanding. Sometimes they're like a memorandum of what was it? A memorandum of agreement. Yeah, a memorandum of agreement.
Right here, it's called authorize a memorandum of understanding for child abuse and neglect assessment. This is what this one's read, and it's resolution number 2401114. And
That was brought before my county commissioners, and they approved it. Obviously, didn't read it.
Whoa! All right, well, let's break into this thing. Want to tell everybody what it's about?
Sure, why not? I got it on my iPad.
Right. I'm going to print it up here, and I'll even throw it up on the screen so everybody can kind of follow along here. I mean, we don't have to go through it verbatim, but let's just give everybody the gist of that we've been right this whole damn time when all of us sit there and people call us crazy and kooks that we don't know what we're talking about and everything. We're conspiracy,
we're all nuts, but they were not nuts because it's here.
Right. All in black and white and approved by multiple people throughout their town's hierarchy structure.
Correct.
I guess is the way to say that. I'm going to print this right now. So pull this up. This is crazy, guys. Wait till you hear this stuff. This is nuts. This is everything that we've all said is true, but we've never had anything really to prove it. Oh, Gunnar, why don't you pop on in here, buddy? I'd love to have you in here. So you're here now. So get on in. I'm going to have Gunnar join us because this is perfect. This is definitely the things that have been discussed in his lawsuit. And this is like, there's a lot of good things from this conversation that is going to come about because one, you actually went to the courts and you proved to them you used this as evidence. You were just telling me.
Yes.
And they just wanted to, they just said, well,
they ignored it.
They didn't even acknowledge it.
Didn't even acknowledge it.
Didn't see damn. Didn't know nothing.
Nope. Didn't see it. Yeah. Didn't see it. Didn't nothing.
Oh, there we go. All right. Here we go.
I was wondering what he meant by no comments on the screen.
Right. Yeah. There they are, guys. Sorry about that. I was just so excited about this. All right. Gunner's going to join us here in a minute, but let's get going on this baby. Let's see what we got here. Let me show it. I'm going to put it up here.
Okay.
Let's see. Where is it? This one? There it is. Right. There we go. And there we go. Let's put us up there with it. Let's do this. Let me move that block off of there so it's not squishing us. There we go. All right. Of course, no one can read it now, right? But you'll be able to hear us talk about it. So don't fret, everyone. We'll be good. So basically, this is this front page here is. So who's writing this front page is from?
This is from the clerk. I believe this is the top page is actually from the clerk who had submitted it to the county commissioner's office.
I'll squish this out of here just for a minute so everybody can see this here.
And she's the one that does like the minutes for the county commissioner.
Yeah, I mean the clerk is like one of the most powerful people in that courthouse. People don't understand that. It's like the sheriff has so much power. Like there's so many powerful people in that courthouse, and nobody ever understands that. Like they don't get that that clerk. First of all, people, if you go to the court and you tell the clerk to file a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, they need to file that peanut butter and jelly sandwich because that's what they're there for. They don't have the right to tell you that you can't file it. Their job is to put things out in front of the judge, and the judge is supposed to be the one that makes that decision, not the court clerk. So if they've ever said to you, no, we're not filing this for you, then they can be in deep shit.
Considered a felony.
Yeah, exactly. They've committed a felony, and you need to report that. And a lot, because this is happening to a lot of people. They go in there, they file their paperwork, and then of course there's just either. And this is why I always tell everybody too: make sure you guys go look at your own files. Don't take your lawyer's word for it.
Nope.
Don't take anybody else's word for it but yours, because so many people have gone there and they go to court and they don't even realize it, but there's nothing in their file. Their lawyers haven't submitted any bit of evidence that has countered what the CPS people have said, like the drug tests or any of this type of stuff. So that judge is making a ruling on nothing but what, because you got to realize the judge rules on not only what they hear in the trial, but then they go back and they have your file. And then they go through your file, and then they look through the file for information that corresponds with what you guys were talking about in the court case or whatever. Well, if they don't have that information there, they can't make a ruling on it. So if your drug tests don't come in there and they're clean and the state's arguing about some sort of issue with that, well, if your attorneys don't put those clean drug tests inside of that file, judge can't rule on that. Now, I'm not saying that the judges are saints or any of that stuff by any stretch, but I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt that they can't rule on what they don't see. So you need to, it's very important to make sure that you guys go and make sure always that you're looking into your court files to see what's inside of there. And you have every right to do it. Don't let them tell you that you can't. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. And to add on to that, I actually had that happen to me. I, in a whole separate different case, I had filed an appeal and went to the courthouse, and the clerk of courts denied to take my filing and accept my filing and file it on the record until my affidavit of indigency had been ruled upon by the judge.
Now, did you file I'm only curious, did you file the indigenous filing at the federal court? You did that there?
No, because
Okay.
it only cost me $5 to file the habeas petition.
Oh, nice. Oh, cool. So you didn't have to do it there, right?
Yeah, so I didn't have to do it there. I was like, okay, $5, I can afford $5.
Right,
you know?
right. Perfect. It'll get it there faster, right?
Yeah, but my local county one, and the clerk of court, I argued with the clerk of courts, and I even told him, I said, according to Ohio Revised Code, the one clerk says to me, I don't know the Ohio Revised Code. Excuse me? You don't know the law?
That's your job.
That's your job.
Right.
What are you doing? I'm like, cause I even told her, I quoted the code, and she's like, well, I don't know the code. We follow policy. And I'm like, I got her on recording saying that.
Wow.
I was like,
Holy
oh
smokes.
my gosh, I couldn't even believe it. Then they also denied me access to file electronically. And he told me, this was just the other day, he told me that I had to have an approval by the judge before I could file electronically. I said, no, I don't.
Wow.
And put him on notice. And he said, well, I spoke to the judge and we're going to approve it. And I'm like, that's what I thought. I'm like, because that's not what it states. I'm like,
right.
That just shows how essential it is to make sure that don't take the clerk of court's word for it.
Right.
Do your research, because
always.
They don't even know.
Right.
I swear to you, they don't know.
Even though they're supposed to.
Yeah, even though they're supposed to. I mean, and that's their job. And he literally told me that he's the clerk of every department in my county, like the common pleas, the criminal. I mean, and I'm sitting here like, wait a minute here. He's the clerk of courts, but he doesn't know the law.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, look what Henry says. He says, you must get anything you filed, ask for a stamp for your copy. Yep. You must have original copy with a real stamp, not a copy of theirs. Do not trust. They will remove your filing when you're not looking.
Yeah, and that's what they tried to do. They did that to me. This is what they did to me. So when I originally filed that filing, I had my affidavit of indigency, and then it had to be notarized. I submitted that with the actual appeal. Mind you, this is on March 5th.
Okay.
March 10th. I'm calling them every day. Like, has it been approved yet? Has it been approved yet? Has it been approved yet? And they're like, no. I called them on the 10th. The 10th was my last day I was able to appeal this issue. I called him. He tells me, no, I haven't heard anything from the judge. Okay. So I call the court administrator. I'm like, there's somebody I have do something. I'm like, so I call the court administrator. She's like, I'm going to go look into this. 25 minutes later, it is posted online and able to be seen. And I'm like, really? So I wanted to file a complaint. So the court administrator, she was like, well, if you want to file a complaint, you can send it to me and I will send it to the appropriate, people that take care of that.
No, I'll do that myself. Thank you.
I'm like, okay. So I did. Here's the kicker. So I did this. She sends it to the judge that does the disciplinary, I guess, for them, because I guess they don't really have like a disciplinary, like, funnel personnel who does actually do the disciplinary things.
Right.
So she sends it to this judge. I get the opinion, from the judge back, and it's the same judge
Oh my.
that approved my affidavit of indigency, but she could not tell me why it took 5 days from when she approved it for them to get it back and put it on the record.
Wow.
And I said, that's a clear conflict of interest. I'm like, you can't make a decision on a complaint when you had a hand in the actual
complaint. Right.
In the process. I'm like, it's just not how that works. And she told me, oh no, I was full of shit. I said, okay. So I told her, I said, I gave her notice and told her I was filing a complaint to the stupid conduct board. So I did. Yeah. And she was not very happy, but I didn't care.
Well, at least she wasn't on the conduct board, right?
Right.
Because that's what happened to me. Just a quick story, but I filed grievances against all the people that were in our case. And wouldn't you know, every time that I went and filed a complaint against those people, they were on the actual complaint board.
John,
so then what do you do? Yeah. What do you do? Right?
Yeah.
What do you do? Like, I just, the assistant attorney general, she was on one of the board. I forget which one I filed a complaint against, but she was on that board. I'm like, what? And then against the guardian ad litem, the father of the person was the guardian ad litem that was the head of that board. And like, it was everywhere that we went to file complaints, it was someone that was involved in my case, and I couldn't believe it. And then I'm like, well, what do we do? And they're like, go to the OIG. So I filed it to the OIG, and they're just like, yeah, you just filed it. You complained to the wrong place. You need to go back and do this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I just told you, I sent you all these records of these complaints that I filed that have been, there's no way that they can rule on these or give me an honest answer because they're all involved in these complaints.
Yeah, I'm sitting there like, wait a minute, this makes no sense. Right. I'm like, that is a conflict of interest. I'm like, you guys are so stupid. I was like, it just makes no sense. I could not even understand it. I was like, because then I was looking into, I'm like, wait a minute here. I'm like, well, if I wanted to file a motion for, I'm like, okay, so he didn't rule on that motion to vacate, right? I'm like, well, why would he? Because then he is saying that his court and his rulings were wrong.
Right. He's got to go up against himself. Right.
Yeah.
So.
And John is right. Rico. I mean, I swear to God, this document probably could honestly prove Rico because there's no other way. I mean, it proves it in black and white.
Right. Yep. And like Henry says, you have to file a complaint. It shows that you gave them a chance to fix the remedy and the problems. So it's just one more, because we got to remember, guys, these people are fraud. So the only way, and it's just like I tell everybody always, like no phone calls, do emails with everybody. Don't make phone calls, because you need to have every tiny bit of proof that you be able to show that these people are doing this because they are dirty. They're devious. So anything that has of importance to it, you need to make sure that you have a copy in writing and then make sure that you also put a copy in your file. Mm-hmm. Keep that in the court because a lot of lawyers are not putting these things in the files. So now the judge can't rule on it properly, even though they're not ruling properly anyway, but you're not giving them the chance to rule on it properly because you don't have this information in there. Like if you feel like it's pertinent to your case, put it in the damn file.
Yeah, no doubt.
Put everything in there. Put whatever you can put in there, put it in there, Yeah. Because they can't, if they don't know about it, they can't rule on it. So I think Gunner's in here now. Here comes Gunner. Let me cue this up here before I bring him in.
Luckily, my state is a one-party state, so I don't need their permission.
Right. Right.
to,
Exactly. So you're safe to be that,
yeah. Because I've looked into it, because I was like, because I'll take my phone in there, I'll set my phone right on the counter.
Right. Yeah. And then you know what? As long as you can do that, right? Because a gunner situation is different. He's we're gonna bring him in for a minute. I'm on it in 1 second here. I just got to get the right I gotta make sure I got the right tone to bring him in. As always, I just had it right here. Sorry about this. Where is it here? Where is it? There it is. I got it. Here we go. And here he comes, the man himself. Ladies and gentlemen, here he comes, Mr. Gunner himself.
Good evening, my fellow infidels and rebellionists.
Gunner, check this stuff out, man. All right.
Yeah, I've been kind of kicking it in the background. I had to grab a bite to eat. So
yeah, so let's get on with this now. Let's tell these people what you found.
So, this right here is literally probably, I think, the most. This is my baby. This is my baby. I'm proud of this thing. I'm not proud that they do this, but I'm proud of this document.
Just finding it, absolutely.
My stumbleness. So it says the purpose of the document is to define the roles and responsibilities of each official or agency in assessing and investigating child abuse or neglect. So this delineates their role, their responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was saying in Gunner's case, everybody says that it's a conspiracy. This is the proof that this is exactly what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the evidence right here. I mean, this is what everybody needs to start looking for these. I've never, until you said memorandum of understanding, I've never even heard of that before. And I'm glad that these things do exist, because this is crazy. This document here. So what did this went to the board? Is that what it is? It went to the board for everybody to approve?
Yes, the county commissioners had to approve it.
Wow.
And it was sent to the county commissioner's office, and they voted on it. So the first page was their voting on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second page is who's all involved.
Wow. This says requires Miami County Department of Job and Family Services to maintain current child abuse and neglect MOU. Miami County officials and professionals that will sign off on the MOU include Miami County Juvenile Court judges and magistrates, Miami County Prosecuting Attorney, Miami County Sheriff's Office, all chief municipal peace officers with Miami County, all other law enforcement officers who handle child abuse and neglect cases in Miami County, Miami County Department of Job and Family Services, Miami County Animal Shelter, and attached you will find the Abuse and Neglect MOU overview along with the screening guidelines for the family in need of services. And this is thank you, Sarah Bowers, who is whoever she is.
She's the interim director of the Miami County Job and Family Services.
Did you catch something in that list?
Yeah, the police department.
Mm-hmm.
No.
The animal shelter.
Animal shelter, animal control.
I didn't understand that at all.
Well, because CPS came from animal shelter.
Like,
you know that, right?
Wait a minute here. I'm like, this makes
Well,
sense.
you guys understand that the animal shelter, animal stuff came first.
They actually took, and within those things, once again, you do have Fourth Amendment rights within all these things to tell all of them to piss off and not to contribute to the investigation for your Fifth Amendment right. But yes, animal control can come out and are mandatory reporters. Subcontract states. In other words, you have people that are going around peeking in and this and that, and there's been a lot of talk of thermal imaging and some of these other things and technologies are out there of how the courts are now having to decide what the Fourth Amendment truly means. Hey, I can scan a house if I have a warrant or a proper thing or this, that. If not, we can have drone technology, this, and that, because they can say your Fourth Amendment, there's different licensings, laws, everything else that goes with it. In other words, it's so many feet above your home, you technically don't own it. Up to so many feet above what is considered ground level, right. It becomes property of aerospace or property of air. FAA, a lot of others have different things where they say, hey, you can operate between this and this. Those are all control fields within commercial and or governmental spaces. But then the question or the concept then becomes, that's been the argument with technology, is, well, what's to say I can't go in there and do thermal graphics and record everything thermal graphics of all these body images that are almost clear, and we can kind of put together by the size, by the dimensions of the thermal imaging, the height, the weight, a lot of these different things and body structures, to basically just look through your walls like X-ray vision, like Superman, and saying we want that amount of there. But the Constitution specifically protects those things. What is within the walls of the home, even to the point now they're having to define what the roof of the home enclosure is, and not just the four walls.
And here's the funny thing, that this MOU gives them the permission to enter without a warrant.
Yeah. Well,
This says it.
well, yeah. Well, once again, I'm not disagreeing with you. Understand, in the client's right handbook of the state of Tennessee from we have 10 years, 2015, 2016 handbook, all the way up to the brand new 2025, just in the state of Tennessee specifically says, we have a right to come into your home, visit your kids at school, or do this, and that. And we have a right to take in, question your children, and there's nothing you can do about it. In other words, it's a suspension of the Constitution itself. But if you go back into their policies, procedures, and their trainings, they actually train, because any aversion to the Constitution or any slight of anything is a direct violation of the Constitution. In other words, coercion to enter is a crime under federal statute and law. But they are using state and federal tax money, your money, my money, and everything else, including these funds, including Social Security Title 4E, because you can't differentiate because it goes into a slush fund, to train these CPS workers, supervisors, and everything else, that above anything else, it's all about, and this is the false flag that they give them, this is about the safety of the children, and the children are our responsibility. The government is not responsible for our children whatsoever. And for them to step in and say, well, we get to make that decision where that line is of this. No, unless a law has been broken, then that is the only way you come in. But they have overreached this so much with a false red flag, including convincing people, all these evils and all these evil peoples. And here we're coming to find out the biggest things, especially in Tennessee, and especially in Blount County, Tennessee, if you follow the news, is it's not just that. It's the damn teachers. It's the damn school. It's the damn private schools. It's the church organizations. Mm-hmm. These are the people that are all now, right now, just in this county, all coming out. That, with this, and let alone just the recent thing, the local DA, there was some sort of relationship between the local DA and this teacher. They moved around for 18 years, abusing kids in the school system to cover it up. And now they've got other things coming. So that, I know a lot of people ask, well, aren't you worried of this and that? I go, listen, man, there's so much heat in my county. The feds are already here. They're not going to do anything to try and retaliate against me or anything like that. Something stupid. Why? They're all under investigation for criminal activity as it is.
I reported this MOU to the feds. Not a word. Not a word.
Well, there's a lot of purging that needs to go on with a lot of over, like they said, 30 to 40 years is business as usual. Doesn't mean that it's been constitutional. And it's going to take time to purge a lot of those things. And a lot of times we don't want to have that look. The big issue is one, especially here that Tennessee is going to have to face, is every sheriff in every county in Tennessee that gave over the rights, the one thing they were elected to do, dereliction of duty, to protect the citizens constitutionally against the state. That's one of the jobs of your sheriff. Primary job of your sheriff is to keep constitutionality done.
Yep.
That is not happening. That is dereliction of duty. It's a violation of their oath. The one thing they don't understand too, what they're getting ready to, is that if any of these officers or anything else that have done this and actually served in the military, they now actually have to go back before a military tribunal because they took an oath to protect this country when they served this country, which means they don't go for anything else. They get recalled back into the military and activated. DT 214, it doesn't matter. You will be recalled and you will face a military tribunal for what? Treason against this country and oath. That's how serious we're talking.
Yep. And they should.
So, but once again, what are you going to do? Because everybody said, well, don't you worry about this.
Yeah.
I don't leave the house. Well, what you got my computer screen? And I have a press. I'm registered with the International Press. Please give it your shot. I'm not doing anything. Once again, because of some of the things they caused with disabilities and made it worse. And then, like I said, lately, like, you know, some of you guys have been out there, there's some of the regulars has been fighting a real bad virus with the shingles virus that came back with the stress of federal witness tampering that happened across state lines, to where the state of Tennessee gave private court information, sealed court information, to another state to try and go after my wife to go steal her kids in another state. And they even mentioned the federal filing. I mean, I've shown it to Darren and a few others that she filed legal paperwork on this date saying that they lived at the same address. Well, that was the date of the offense, and that's how you filed the paperwork, dumbass. They quote it in their thing and across state lines and going, but they present it to the judge in the other state with a legal filing. That legal filing is a federal constitutional rights freaking thing. That's federal witness tampering. You just admitted to it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I mean, I literally had a federal judge tell me I did a habeas petition. He told me, after cursory examination, you just said that you didn't do your due diligence and you didn't even look at the full petition of the habeas, which is what you are supposed to do.
Yeah.
You're supposed to go through that with a fine-tooth comb. And you just admitted that you just skim right through it.
Oh, she don't even have to do that because she got them all on videotape and it's up on TikTok and Facebook, the whole encounter. And she informs them with the federal case number. And the deputies and everybody else there. It's like, this is my federal case number. Would you like it? Here it is. And spews it off from memory. Not let me look this up. I'm active in this.
You remember Herbert used to say all the time that with the Mirandas and everything, they have to read it verbatim from a card. Not from memory. They have to actually read it from a physical card for it to be acceptable and accurate.
And then on top of it, she stays with her dad, and her dad is a retired Army.
Well, I'd love to be a fly on
a
that one.
warrant officer, retired Army.
Nice.
If you know anything about military rank, you know that means some massive shit.
Yeah.
So now you've activated him because they came on his property, told them to leave in the whole 9 yards, and then everything twice, 2 weeks apart, and then trying to drag her into a different court, trying to say she's unfit for what? Talking to me because of this and that. We are co-plaintiffs in a federal case. We have every legal right to communicate.
Yeah.
And there's no order restraining us or this or that, but they're trying to twist it as they do in their paperwork, falsifying paperwork to twist it. Now, when the judge realizes this is a federal case, if it even gets that far, which I really don't think it's going to after a few filings. And on top of, we got in touch with our actually a pretty good one here in our area, Tim Burchett in East Tennessee in our district. And he is a known U.S. congressman to stir the pot and call out corruption, and has met with Trump several times on corruption and these things. So he is one known for being, oh no, this is bullshit. Constitutional guy. So they have congressional break next week. And we got a letter from him. Hey, we're getting you involved with our person and our person that does DOJ to follow up on the criminal charges of everything that's happening to you. Guess we're going to have a talk with a few people.
Sounds like it.
But until you can articulate that as most people, hey, I'm a federal witness, I just got tampered with, and explain it and articulate it, not just say it. Here's the thing you got to create: the paper trail. Serve them with the color of law. Serve them with the trespass. Put all of it in there, and then send copies of that to all the elected officials. This is a federal criminal act of up to 20 years in jail. What the hell is going on? Here's a copy to the judge. On top of now we have to amend our filings, walk in our hand filings, and then turn around and go with the power of the congressman. That's why we're trying to get our federal filings caught up. That's a lot of work. You get a whole nother thing. It's like combining two different cases technically, and just you got to file a form anyway because you want them squashed together because it all is all together.
On together, yeah.
But to file all that stuff, and I think we were up to 12, 14 brand new motions with some of the different crimes that were committed.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a full investigation, a full audit, we're talking about releasing, even by the state of Tennessee standards, court information to another state with no judge. That's a criminal felony offense.
Yeah.
I mean,
but hey, we're CPS. And then the best part is she got on tape in the other state that she's in, and you go back and watch it, it is Kentucky, that the officer admits to her on film that CPS or DCFS in Kentucky has the ability to cross state lines. They have been informed like they're a federal agency, but he admits they've been trained and instructed to do that.
Excuse me?
Exactly. So now you have just proved my federal case of crossing state lines, and you're telling people that you are. Lying to law enforcement is a felony.
I mean, how dumb can you be? They just keep proving to me how stupid they are. I mean,
the bar is here. This is the Constitution. It should never.
No.
They're playing here and they're going, well, we're getting close. But at the same time, you know what they tell like people like me when I scream constitutional rights? We don't deal with that in this courtroom.
Yeah, this isn't a constant. Wait a minute here. Okay, well,
what we should have known, should we had said that and heard that at the time, a lot of people. So, Your Honor, you just admitted that you no longer has any jurisdiction over this case because there is constitutional matters, which makes this a federal case.
You would think.
But did you do your job? Not once, not twice. No, they didn't do that.
Nope, they ignored it.
And ignoring it is war against the Constitution, and it's punishable by death.
Yep.
So that's why they don't come around. Then the big story with everything else of the teachers and the other corruption and the big pedophile ring that they're uncovering with all the little, organized religions around here. Some of the churches that are going on, and they covered it up, and no police reports, and then the school system doing it for several people. At the same time, they're pushing everybody. Everybody wants to go to homeschool, and now CPS is just loving this shit because now there's a brand new attack with everything that's been happening across every single state, and this is happening everywhere. Is they wait till your kids go to school, which is why. Listen, guys, if you guys don't have it, go to the website. Okay, that we have our website for the news channel, and there's a thing at the bottom of the thing for your kids going back to school. It talks about their constitutional rights. You give that to your kid. You get a copy of that and you give it to each teacher, and you meet with your teachers at the parent-teacher conference at the beginning of the year and the school office and put that in their file. And you tell the school, if you violate my child's or my constitutional rights, I will sue you personally, and I will sue this school for everything it has. You have been put on notice. They are not to talk to a police officer, nor a CPS worker, or anything. If anybody shows up wanting to talk to my children other than instructing them for educational purposes only, that is going to be a felony offense, and I'm gonna take everything you have.
That's a violation of the parents' parte. Is that what it is? Parents' parte.
Well, now a lot of people, when you sign that child's handbook, they send home, this is the handbook for kids, and they get you to sign it. Don't sign it. Do not sign it.
So in this
that gives them the right to take over custody of your children while they're in their presence.
Check this out. In this here, for the county prosecutor, city law director shall work conjointly with the MCDJFS CPSD, the law enforcement, to eliminate unnecessary interviews and reduce trauma to the child. When possible, interviews will be conducted in compliance with the procedure outlined in 2023 interagency cooperative agreement with the Child Advocacy Center in Isaiah's Place. However, should the county prosecutor or city law director determine it is necessary to conduct the alleged child victim interview without the presence of a forensic interviewer, the on-call MCD-JF CPSD shall be present for the interview. They're telling them right there that they don't have to have anybody there for the interview.
Yep.
Correct.
Now listen here. Here's the other problem. I went down this rabbit hole, and Sharon and I we're going on this. But there's two different types of interviews that you can do with children: a forensic and a factual interview based on facts. A forensic interview is shoulda, coulda, woulda, or the possibility based off percentages. It's not an actual. And here's the other thing: if you've had a forensic interview and you go into court, and even you're pro se, you have a right to cross-examine that person in court, and or they have to have enough supporting evidence for the judge to rule that the child shouldn't, because there's enough substantiation, and that's even in civil court.
Mm-hmm.
That's the law. And like I said, then they want to try and have criminal court in civil courts because they can't even meet the standard. There's nothing there. It should be tried. But what? Now it gives them money. Now it gets into the system. Why? Because now you can pull all their bonds. We covered that in another show of, hey, let me get your bond number and all this other stuff, and who got paid on the bonds and everything you filed, the performance bond, the surety bond, and everything else, to where you made money off of this. Now give me a payment schedule on that account or that case number. So you did it for profit. Then you're looking at Social Security fraud, because then you realize they filed on their Social Security. I never gave permission for that. Then they shared our Social Security information and everything else too. I forgot to tell you about that too, Darren. That went across state lines.
Very nice.
And then it even says, like in this MOU, it says, let's see here, multidisciplinary team composition and purpose to work cooperatively in the investigation, assessment, and prosecution of all cases of suspected child abuse and neglect. Protocol.
Here's the thing.
All
Even
agencies,
in a murder investigation
investigations.
or anything else, you don't have to cooperate under my Fifth Amendment right. I can tell you to kiss my ass.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, here's a kicker, right? So I know that he was talking earlier about how when it first came up and he started the live, it said that about the person asking if they needed a warrant because if they know their rights, right?
Yep.
I did this. CPS came to my house, I asked them. They told me all their allegations, blah, 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 blah. I asked them, do you have a warrant? They told me no. I said, well, then I guess this conversation is over. Mm-hmm. I went to go back into the house, and they told me, we're going to go get one. They came back 20 minutes later with an emergency removal order.
Yeah.
Retaliation. Right there.
Yep.
They didn't come back with a warrant. They didn't want to see inside the house. They immediately came with the police to my house to even talk to me, because prior to this, I had a case a few years back. Before that, I had 3 of their workers fired. I got them all on recording, talking shit about myself, my husband, and my dad, and about how they were going to call Adult Protective Services on me. Oh yeah, I got them on my voicemail.
But see,
on a voicemail.
This is the softening of this country, because if we really knew our rights, we would understand what the Second Amendment was there for when tyrannical shit like that happens, to defend our homes.
Yep.
When you start scraping and getting serious of that stuff, which is why they're now showing up with law enforcement, which is once again, the misappropriation of funds and the police officer's time, because this is a civil matter and it's an optional matter. So when you involve law enforcement, that's misappropriated funds. That's mismanagement.
Yeah, but this document authorizes them to do it. It's okay for them to do it.
When peace officers need to remove or bring children into emergency shelter that need protection, are totally without care or supervision, or are children from situations so serious that in the judgment of the officer it would be impossible to reach a resolution of the immediate problem at home, the officer should immediately contact the MCD, JFC, CPSD. They will respond to the need for the placement and will assist in determining possible placement alternatives. All efforts should be made to attempt to place children in the least restrictive most family-like setting available to meet the child's needs, including exploring placement with relatives, family, and friends. This is just telling them that the police have all authorization to remove a child from a home.
Correct.
But they must have firsthand knowledge enough to fill out the report for it, is what that's saying. In other words, I clearly said I view this and that. That is called an imminent danger one, but it has to meet the imminent danger standard.
Which
Not
they don't.
the house was filthy, it could have used cleaning that. Those are needs for assistance. Those are not needs to remove children. That's, we have a problem and we'd like to help in a situation, but that's not the solution because there's no money in that.
Correct.
That's misappropriation. Why? Because they'd rather pay more of their socialist, communist social workers, which is a socialist program.
Mm-hmm.
But we're seeing a lot of that cut away to where now the EBTs are cut. Now the Section 8 housing's getting cut, all that other stuff. No, these are reserved for this. This is not to reward bad behavior and bad decisions type thing. And they're seeing a lot of that, and they're slowly creeping up this. But once this stuff, like I said, and it hits big stage and people realize what's in there, and they begin to wake up, or you get to the point people actually exercise their constitutional rights and go blam and turn around and just simply say, I'm only going to say this. I feared for myself and my children's safety. They said they wanted to come in and steal my children. They did not have a warrant or court order. I have every right to this. Why? Because they lost their job when they crossed the threshold per the law.
Yep.
Now you're not going to do that.
Yep. They literally, they came in and they took, and they had it because my kids were refusing to leave. Everybody's like, no, we're not leaving. We're not going anywhere. And the cops were like, come on, guys, let's go. And then the cops proceeded to tell CPS that we were in the back of the house with the kids telling the children not to come. And I'm like, how could this man, literally, how can he hear when we live in a 1,000 square foot apartment? How could he hear what we were saying from outside of the front closed screen door? And we're in the back of the house. How could he hear what anybody was doing?
Right.
Well, the beautiful thing I think that I thought they caught the most attention was when they came around knocking here this day, early part of July. And the first thing I said, one, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to exercise my Fifth Amendment. I'm not going to answer any more questions. But here's the other problem. I have a federal civil rights lawsuit on the books with a case number in front of you, and the cop was the one that beat on my door and told me I had to talk to the CPS worker. Number one, it's my motherfucking house, asshole. And let me explain something too. I ain't got to talk to nobody if my door's closed. Second off, you went past what's called a public posting in the front of my house that you can see from the street. It specifically says no warrant, no entry, no trespass, no soliciting, and quotes the state castle doctrine, which eliminates their right to knock.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Without those things. So when you knocked on my door, you broke the law.
Yep.
And it's posted, and it's all on their stuff. But like I said, it's a huge cover up. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Mm-hmm. If we really realize with all the lies we've been told over the past decades, and even people, oh, well, you're conspiracy. No, guess what? Now it's all true. Mm-hmm. Now what are you going to do? What does that mean? It's all true. That means they have been stealing and lying and this and that and keeping us poor, robbing us as people serving in public matters, supposed to be servants of the law and the Constitution that are violating their oath. Now, I've got one opinion of that, and so does the Constitution. Mm-hmm. Once you are found guilty, that should be the last breath you take.
Uh-huh. Hang in public.
You want population control? For some of you, I'll tell you what, start hanging people for treason.
Yep.
And by the way, with these crimes that we go on, it's in here, and the things that we will be going on the criminal side, every single one of these people will have a felony charge, federal felony charge on their record for crimes against children.
Oh, yeah.
That means CPS, the officers, anybody involved with this, the judges, mm-hmm. You don't get your kids now. How does it feel? Mm-hmm. We're going to take your kids. We're going to take your families. Mm-hmm. And they're going to go into the system that you loved and praised so much and watch your children be abused.
Yeah, that you condoned. that you.
I didn't do it. This is what you set up. If it's good enough for us, it's good enough for your kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, no, they need to go to, watch them cry how fast.
Oh,
With
yeah.
every legal thing to go to somebody in family, an aunt, an uncle, or this or that, just to save their children.
And you know what? And they don't even realize like the mental aspect of
Oh,
this,
no.
what it does to the children. They don't even give two shits about that. I'm like, wait a minute here. My daughter literally was like, for the first, after I got my kids back, the first 2 years, I could not leave this house without her. She would have a absolute meltdown and was afraid I was never coming back to get her.
Oh, it's terrorized, just what they did to my wife's kids coming back again up there on a case that's closed in a separate state, and this had to go through this again. It's terrorism. It's an act of, and like I said, the new filing, we are filing for domestic terrorism.
Oh yeah, as they should.
Because it meets the method and conspiracy, because now it's cross state lines.
Yeah.
You're federal witness tampering, and now you have just proved you're a domestic terrorist organization. I have the evidence.
And like this document even says that it literally is this applies to everyone in the state.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and I'm sitting here like, and I have literally looked up for these MOUs because they're not always called MOUs. There's like a memorandum of
there's purpose statements. There's goals.
They're named different things.
It's like a goal of a company with any other business. This is our purpose statement. This is our
And literally, but I looked it up and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, and I mean, every state has them. That's a RICO case all on its own.
This, and with the big thing is with ICE cleaning up right now that's happening across the nation, there's a new trend now to where they're opening old cases or anything else to get their hands on as many kids as they can, because ICE is coming in and removing all of the children and shipping them back to their countries and everything else and making those provisions. Oh, well, that's in here. They're separate. Well, you know what? That's what happens with crimes. I'm sorry. It ain't no different than somebody going to prison. Yep. You know, you're gonna have separation from that. You do a crime, you do the time. It's just that simple. But you don't belong here. Mm-hmm. You weren't brought here the right way. We have a thing. This is not, this is already settled land. This is not indigenous land to where it's free, open, and there's plenty of space for other people. There's many different definitions on different ones. Should we have paid more homage to those that had lived here before with the, as they call some of them Native American, but actually I prefer to refer to them by their own tribe name, and specifically by it for respect for that reason, because they are a nation there, and it's the only place around besides the Amish that is actually a nation within nations. Mm-hmm. There is no, even the federal government doesn't have jurisdiction on reservation land or what's designated, even though they've gone all over it with some of the clinics and some of the other things they've done, and CPS has definitely tried to breed that out of them or remove them and re-assimilate them. That's been known throughout history and very well documented. So it's just sad. People should just leave us the fuck alone and let us live free. Knock this shit off. Go back to the Constitution. States regulate commercial shit. Other than that, leave the private fucking people alone and fuck off. Unless I've injured somebody or damaged somebody's property, you have no right. Piss off.
No, they don't. And they have overstepped their bounds way too many fucking times.
Yeah, you sure have.
I mean, institutions and organizations of corporations such as cities are not even legal to take. I mean, police are not even legal or constitutional. Your local elected sheriff, why? Because your police is all elected or appointed, I should say.
The police are just, I mean, literally. So my stepdaughter was here a couple weeks. It was like the end of June. She refused to go home to her grandma. She wrote up a statement. And I submitted this to federal court too. She wrote up a statement saying that she did not want to live there. Her dad was not unfit, just an affidavit. She signed it. I submitted it to federal court. The cops, when they came here, because of course his mom called the cops, she was like, they were like, well, because I told her, I said, we have a habeas corpus petition in federal court right now.
Yeah.
And he said, well, she's going to have to go back with her I said, even after that affidavit was given to the police officer signed by this child under penalty of perjury. Okay, signed under penalty of perjury, which is valid in federal law in federal court, and they still made her.
But see, there's one of the big things. If you should be able to cry out to your neighbors in your community with injustice, and they should show up to help defend your constitutional rights the same way that you defend theirs and back and forth, which they have destroyed in our society. So there is little to no resistance. Otherwise, they wouldn't get out of the neighborhood, and it's
Yeah.
not going to happen. But people don't come together because they've turned everybody against everybody. They've twisted everything. And once again, and it's so polluted that most people don't even know what their rights are or even what the Constitution says.
Nope, they don't. And I mean, literally, like, I have spent the last 2 years fighting just this custody issue. And then, of course, it's taken a lot of time and a lot of knowledge, and just it's tedious. It's not anything that, and I have tried to reach out to multiple people like, hey, if you need, I can give you some guidance on
Right.
where to go, how to approach it. I can't do it for you, but you have to want to do this. And a lot of people get that
Yep.
intimidation. They get intimidated and then they back down.
Well,
And I'm
it's
not a backer downer. So I'm like,
well,
I'm
and we picked up a lot of stuff with affidavits and this and that, and then everybody wants to do this. Listen, I'm not an attorney. Do your affidavit. I'm going to push you in the right direction, but the rest is up to you. And you get so many people. Well, can't you just help me, or can't you? No, that's
No.
where you cross a line, and that's where a lot of people get in trouble. And this is not that difficult. And if your children are not worth you getting an education in your rights and everything else, well, I'll be dead honest with you. In
Then
some
you
of
don't
my
deserve
opinion, you don't deserve them.
I mean, that's plain and simple. That's the thing. You can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink.
But
Okay.
you can
So
drown that son of a bitch.
yeah, but I mean, it's like, Jesus Christ. It's like, how much more? I mean, I can't do it for you. You
Yeah.
have to want it. If you don't want it, and your kids, like you said, if you don't value your children, then just don't even
Well,
bother.
we'll see. Once again, the most of the thing that family courts and everything else has done too is, if you're not happy, you're not this, just give up and throw it away and
Yeah.
go on to the next one. So they've perpetuated this this psychological change in the mind of the society, that minimal effort, minimal everything, it's just not worth it. And to give up so easy, they don't even fight for anything anymore. I mean, hell, you've got commercials that they were doing on there with a lot of these women and stuff. Would you kill for your child? And a lot of them, like that. I'm like, you done lost your damn mind. I know my grandma rough or this or that on me, but I guarantee you she'll fight tooth and nail. You go to try and take something.
Yeah,
That's
no doubt.
family,
Yeah, and that's like, what was it? I can't even believe that, people just don't even, they just don't get it. And I'm like, I just can't do, I mean, like, the separation of powers, like somebody commented, violated the separation of powers. Yeah, they do. They all do. They think that, okay, it's okay for me to be one person, and then I can also have my hand in it again. Well, that's not the case. You're not being impartial. You said you're not being impartial. You're not being, you're biased.
Well, and
Automatically.
they take advantage of people like you talk about that are like some of that too. They don't have the mental capacity to where an ADA is needed.
Yeah.
We need something simpler. We need somebody to do this. And there are people, and that's not being mean. That's being honest. There's seeing people out there that don't have the mental capacity. I ran into somebody this past week. She was a foster child. She was like number 36. And 36 kids they went through in this big foster home. Well, dad passed and everything went away, and the mom moved 5 states away, and because everybody was just over 18, and this was it, and nobody did any reason. They took a check, put the kids through the system, but not a lick of common sense, not a lick of anything to defend themselves, and left them abandoned. And then they're stuck in this cycle of poverty and everything else. I'm just like, well, I don't get any more money, and now I get his death benefits and all this other stuff. I ain't doing this anymore. I'm done. I quit. After so many years and 36 fucking kids lives that you've ruined, that you've stolen from somebody else.
And then like ADA, that whole that okay. So my kid has conduct disorder. He has ADHD, and he has a comprehension disorder. They suspended him. Right. I fought them. I put
So
in
let me get this straight. 90% of the things he's been diagnosed with has been directly given to him by the same representatives that are the Food and Drug Administration that cause all these issues and these health and these birth defects and everything else we're finding out now. So they're profiting off of dumbing you down and everything else and causing these issues and health issues and profiting again by saying you're a bad parent by something we created.
Yeah. And literally
Oh,
the school, mind you, the school, they said they suspended him because he had taken a Gatorade off of a teacher's desk. Mind you, it was not the teacher's Gatorade. He had taken it downstairs and it was a student's, and he had taken it downstairs and then he lied about it. He has a comprehension disorder. Okay. He literally, I can tell this kid something 20 million times and he literally will not get it. Okay. They called me and they suspended him. And I told them, I said, wait a minute here. I said, that is a result of his disability. You guys didn't even go in and say, okay, did we take into consideration that, maybe his disability is what caused him to lie? Is what
right.
caused, because I'm like, they didn't even take that into consideration. I was like, that's part of the conduct disorder. That's part of, all of these things, that add up. I was like,
Mhm.
you didn't even accommodate him. I was like, I told the school, I said, I filed a complaint with the ADA. The school hates me. The school hates
Well, and
me
there's the thing. Why are you hating me for holding you accountable for a
because I'm
job
holding
you
them
are
accountable.
paid to do? Here's the thing. If I go out into the workforce, anywhere else and this and that, and I don't perform to their standards that they expect me to do, and in your contract and everything says you must meet all these standards, you get paid to go to these classes and these training things and all these other things to be compliant. Why are you not doing the bare minimum of your job?
Yeah,
But
like
now I'm the bad guy to point it
correct.
out.
Correct. And that's what I told the principal, because I argued with the principal for days over email. Mind you, I'm not stupid. I if I have a complaint, I will put it in an email. I'll put it in an email, and
Yeah,
you know what? I have my paper trail, because you are not getting one over on me with that, because that has happened way too many times. I can't prove it. If I don't have physical proof, I won't even claim it. Okay?
right,
It's just to that extent. I won't claim that because I can't prove it. If I can't prove it, then I'm not saying a word,
right.
because that's just hearsay to me. That's, I mean, I could have seen it with my own two eyes,
Well,
but
and a lot of it goes to, and there are, let me put this way, a little bit different. When you get into a court, there's a thing called credibility with the jury, credibility with the judge, so on and so forth. If you have shot to hell somebody as being a liar, a fabricator, somebody that would commit perjury, and all these other things on the stand, and all that evidence stacks up, this and that, then the likelihood of it coming through of saying, yeah, but you said this and that, even though there's nothing here, what I'm saying, hard evidence, but here's the same thing. You're supposed to be recording, for example, when they call you or anything else, those conversations by law are supposed to be recorded, because any interaction
mhm,
with parents or children is supposed to be documented. That means recorded, in this day and age with everything. So when it lacks that, well, there's no evidence for your honor, it's not up to me to maintain that according to their policies and procedures. They failed,
mhm.
therefore they destroyed evidence. So you got to know how to put the spin like they do in court and turn it back around on them. That's the game of getting in the courtroom, is twisting like what they've twisted with you. Well, your honor, present the evidence. Do we have the evidence? Your honor, according to their home policies and procedures, the evidence that he's speaking of was evidence they didn't collect or they destroyed. That's tampering with them. That's a
Yeah.
crime, your honor. I don't have it because they destroyed it.
I literally I had the court, right? So I called and I put in a request for a CD, because in my county and my state that you can get like a recording of the court records of like the court hearings. I can get them put on a CD. So I did that. They cannot find my CPS hearing, my shelter hearing that just happened in 2024. I requested it shortly after the hearing. They could not find any record of the hearing. I have court documents that has the court case numbers. I have and I said,
So that's
I want a
as
copy of that
simple in
report.
your federal filing as you get a letter back from them. We don't have it or we can't produce it. Then that's a charge or a line item on there for destroying evidence in a case.
Oh yeah, so they wouldn't say that, right? My husband had called. Because I stopped putting my phone number on papers because they would
Yeah.
call me. I'm like, fuck that, I'm not putting my phone number on here no more. They want to correspond with me, they need to email me.
Right.
Well, I sent them an email in November again, and I said, hey, I just wanted to confirm, that you don't have this recording. I requested it back in, February. I just want to make sure that you don't have it. No response. Silence is guilt.
Well, you
Okay.
can put a
You are
deadline.
automatic.
You put a deadline on those, and then when you get to the
Yeah, I
power
did.
of the federal court, because you've made that request once again, you then form that into a form of a subpoena, and then the subpoena will take and stand for the destroying of evidence. And the way you word it is, I would like a copy of this, and that, as required per your records, and quote everything in there of just saying you're required to retain this, and tampering with it or not turning it over is actually a crime of destroying evidence in this case. Then it comes back to the shadow comes back on. Why did they destroy the evidence? Then
Oh, I had my federal lawsuit. Or in the federal and the habeas, I put my mother-in-law, the judge, the magistrate, and the Miami County clerk of courts. I put them all on there. I was like, no, because they are the reasons why those kids are being held in custody. From their orders, from their due diligence.
Well, and that's where you come together. If two or more people conspiring to commit a crime, that's a RICO Act. And then how did they benefit? Then the other part is being able to articulate how did you benefit financially, custody of the child. They got SNAP benefits, they got this, they got that, and all that other stuff. But now a lot of these incentives and a lot of these things are going away, where it's going to put a bad taste in people's mouths. Where I don't want these kids. There's no money in it. I mean, hell, you would get. I mean, there was people that I interviewed and stuff like that were foster parents. Oh my fucking God. Yeah, ain't no wonder they come in, check your house. They will give you a housing allowance. They'll give you food stamps for the kids. They'll give you money allowance. They'll give you this. They'll give you that. They'll give you vouchers. And they don't have to worry. And she's like, well, I get paid X amount. I had a foster parent turn around. She goes, I have 3 kids. And she goes, I collect $65,000 a year. I said, how the fuck do you get $65,000 a year that is over the medium income in this area? You're living high on the hog because it's all money.
My kids get survivor's benefits and they don't even get $20,000 a year. The fuck?
So why wouldn't they incentivize it? And if they're getting $65,000 a year and they're only getting, say, 20% of the amount of money, where's that other 80% going and who's pocketing it?
The state?
Yeah. Do you realize most states that anywhere between 60 to 90% of their state budget relies on federal funding from CPS, Social Security? Do you imagine you cut all that off from them and it's all gone and all those programs are gone and then there's no money? There's no job. You can't hire nobody. That's why we were encouraging everybody. File your own federal lawsuit. Start bankrupting them. File it under constitutional rights and stick with it. Start with a 4th Amendment from the very beginning.
Hell, it freaking costs, what is it, $400 or $605 to file for to file for civil rights violation in 1983.
$625 or $650 or something like that. But that's just that ain't the part that costs you the most.
No, it's all the litigation.
No, it's serving everybody because it has to.
Oh yeah, that too. Oh God, I didn't see, and I was like, because I told my husband, I was like, well, we don't need the habeas. I was like, because our habeas to only file a habeas, it only cost me $5. I was like, I don't need to do an affidavit, an affidavit of indigency. I can just, go or proceed in form of papyrus or whatever it is. I was like, because it's $5. We can spend $5 filing a freaking habeas petition. And then he threw it out immediately. I mean, next day he literally had a ruling. No subject matter jurisdiction under Rooker-Feldman. Bullshit. The federal judge don't even know. He literally freaking tried to throw it out.
Well, once again, that is the position we've tried to tell everybody is do it under constitutional rights violations.
I did.
Hold on, but don't attack just the actors. File it under the policies and procedures, and it gets right past Rooker versus Feldman.
I did, and you know what he came back with? Layman versus Lycoming.
Really? How did he apply that?
He said that this applied, right? He even said that it was an extremely similar to Layman versus Lycoming which it has no reference to Layman versus Lycoming, because that has to do with TPR, and the kids were already in foster care, which has nothing to do with my case at all. No, I'm in Ohio.
Oh God, that's even worse. Okay.
Yeah. And you're like, no. I'm like, dude, you're dumb. I literally told him, like, no, this does not apply. It doesn't apply. He's like, well, he said that, well, it was because of, they can't re-adjudicate a state court's adjudication. I'm like, there was no fucking adjudication. What part of that don't you understand? There was no adjudication by CPS. He was never adjudicated unfit. I'm telling you. But anyways, it was on the constitutional violations, the deprivation of rights of the children being constitutionally held in custody, unconstitutionally held in custody. That was literally the petition, was they were held unjustly. Then he came back and said that they weren't in custody, that custody was to do with custodial facility, meaning prison.
It's possession versus custody. It's a legalese definition word. It's how they write it.
And I'm like, no. I'm like, that's not how it's even, because even in, Rooker-Feldman? I think it was Rooker-Feldman, or no, maybe it was Layman versus Lycoming. It stated that habeas could be, because he was trying to tell me that habeas could not be used for this issue. And I was like, bullshit. I was like, that's not true. He literally was trying to blanket his judgment and just try and throw it out. And I'm like, no, I filed a Rule 60B. Then once he threw that one out, I filed a Rule 59E. So I'm still waiting on that one.
There's always the Court of Appeals on those decisions for throwing them out too.
I can't go to the Court of Appeals until he rules on the freaking 59E.
Well,
because I'm waiting for it, because I'm like,
where they're getting a lot of these corrupt judges is they're kicking cases out under things they're not supposed to. But once they hit the appellate court, all of a sudden the appellate court kicks it down and goes, no, you must hear it, but now you have to have a change of venue, because this judge has already done this and you have a bias. And so,
because that's what I said. I was like, no, I'm not. I was like, that's fine. I was like, I don't even care anymore. I was like, I already have my brief ready for frickin' appeals court, the circuit court. I'm like, because I've already held him accountable. I put his ass on notice. I told him, I said, this is your final opportunity. I said, for you to actually go through and look at this petition, how you're supposed to. You are not addressing what you are supposed to be addressing. And I will take you to the circuit court. I will appeal it. I'm telling you now. And it's been almost a month. So I'm waiting for that 28-day time frame to go. And I put in a motion to expedite and everything. And I was like, okay. I was like, he's just messing around. And I told him, I put him out on social media. I told him, I was like, no, I'm tired of your guys' games. I gave you evidence. You didn't even mention any of the evidence, hardly at all. He literally took my evidence because I submitted, like, how CPS had dismissed the case. I submitted that to the court, to the federal court in the closure. And I'm like, hey, like, here it is. Here's where CPS dismissed the case. I even submitted their allegations of them taking the kids, and that they still dismissed the case. And he turned it around on me and said one line about how the children were taken, but then, no, he said like 3 sentences about how they were taken from me, and then said one line that CPS dismissed the case. And I'm like, that he just totally dismissed the whole purpose of the evidence. He dismissed it all. And I'm like, he didn't touch base on the MOU. He didn't. I submitted that as federal evidence. He didn't even mention one word, not one word. And I submitted it twice.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. I mean, the affidavits and everything. I was like, okay. I was like, that's fine. I mean, he didn't even touch base. I literally submitted over 140 pages of evidence.
Well, I
Just
think
evidence.
the other thing is too, the one thing that I learned, especially with some of the federal stuff, is hit the highlights, hit the massive stuff.
Yeah.
And then once you get in, it gets to a certain point, then you get the court date. You have the ability to amend at any given time with new evidence, more procedure, more interview, this and this and that. Get past it, then flood them with that. And a lot of people look at it and they look at the paperwork and they go, oh my God, you've got like 500 filings in here and everything else I have to go through to even review the case. And a lot of these underlings that look at some of this stuff and report in summers and do a summarization usually to a lot of these judges, which a lot of people will clerk for them, so to speak, is go through and sift through this to make sure it does this, it does that, and there's certain guidelines they have. And some people just get so frustrated and they don't care, and there's nobody there checking on them. You know what? This thing's too damn big. I'm not going through all this shit. The judge ain't going to want to deal with this. This is just a headache and this and that, and they're just going and they just file it away. And that's in the office of the judges, and that's who they choose to actually go through or pre-screen some of this stuff. So and a lot of it just depends on a lot of that too with people. You can go to some offices like the federal court clerk's office and like the one that I went into in Knoxville area, very helpful, very informational. Hey, this is what you need. Hey, you got the wrong form here, just fill this out here, do this or that, and I'll just correct your paperwork, not in a way of this. It's just you've got the wrong form or you're missing a form, things like that.
Yeah.
We'll get you in, we'll get you filed. It's good. And you've got others that'll look at their paperwork, and you got people at the window because they're in cahoots because their cousin's brother something or other, is in the local county house or in the big city house. Nope, you can't file that here. We don't accept cases like that. Reversing a file, not accepting a filing for even review is a criminal act.
Yes, it is.
It's a federally supported. I mean, they literally, like earlier, I said, I literally had a clerk tell me to my face that they didn't know the law. They didn't know the Ohio Revised Code. I'm like, I got it on recording. I'm like, I know this. Then I had a federal clerk tell me that a stay was meant that they were prohibiting me or sustained. Sustained meant the same thing as a stay. Okay, because the judge in federal court, I kid you not, the judge in federal court sustained my motion to file electronically. And he sustained it. So that meant that I was allowed to file electronically. Okay. I called the federal freaking courthouse, and the one lady was like, well, it says that you can't file. And I'm like, what do you mean? I says, it says it was sustained. She's like, yeah, that means you can't file. I'm like, no. And I was like, that definitely, I literally looked up the definition and read it to her on the phone and was like,
girl, you got Google? Hey, wait a minute. I know there's got to be a copy of this thing called Black's Law Dictionary in there. Go look it up, bitch.
I'm like, oh my God. She was like, it's the same thing as a stay. I'm like, no. She's like, that means you're not allowed. I'm like, no. So then she puts me on hold. Then she gets back on the phone and she says, I'm going to transfer you up to Dayton since that's where your case is. They'll be able to give you more information.
You need to be demoted or removed from that position with that amount of ignorance.
I told my husband, I said, I swear to God, I said, how come I can't be at the clerk of court's office? I said, I think I know more than she does. I said, this is ridiculous.
I've heard a few in my day, but yeah, that's up there.
I did. I even got her on recording saying it. My husband, he come home and he listened to it. And I'm like, you ain't gonna believe this shit. I was like, listen to this conversation. He's like, are you serious right now? And I was like, yeah. I was like, she didn't even know what it meant. I was like, that's just ridiculous.
Listen, I have used words with some people before, and they will literally look at me and says, listen, I know you're not meaning to insult me or anything else, but what does that mean? Are you trying to belittle me? I'm like, just go find. I mean, are you kidding? And I'm looking here like, you don't know what that means? Like,
Sustained and stay. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
oh no, not even just those words. Other words.
I'm like, I
Trust
didn't even
me.
know sustained. I'm like, I knew what sustained meant just from watching fucking TV, dude. Like,
Yeah.
watch any long show, you know? I'm like, and she works in the clerk's office and doesn't know what it means. I am
Yeah,
so
you're not a good fit for that job. Go back over there stamping the envelopes and sending stuff out, girl, because you don't need to be working the window doing anything like that if you don't know.
I'm like, I couldn't even believe it. It blew my mind. It blew my mind. And you can hear me on the recording being like, as soon as she hung up the phone and transferred me, I was like, I just couldn't even believe she even said that. And I was like, I know that this girl just did not tell me that. I'm like, how stupid can you be? And literally, and when I filed in
No,
federal court, like you said,
I've learned not to ask that question because they will still surprise you.
oh yeah, my federal court. Now my federal court, he was a great guy. I went down there and I filed everything. He literally, I spent, it was like 45 minutes after they closed. He spent going through my whole filing to make sure everything was legally sound and proper before he even filed my habeas
Yeah.
petition. And then literally the next day, I get a subject matter jurisdiction dismissal.
Yeah.
Did you even read the first page? I mean, good Lord.
Well, and like I said, when they have those arguments, resubmit, put it in there why it doesn't meet, Rooker versus Feldman, or you put the things in there and your argument is then on paper and then they have to defend that argument. And the same way with a lot of things, I tell a lot of people, if you think you're going to run into it, go ahead and beat the shit out of it already with case law, with this, with that, and put all that stuff in there. Why? Because now you've made a solid argument other than you shoulda, coulda, woulda known.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it comes down to that because of the legal community. The bar association is trying to confuse you as much as you can to where you have to have all that stuff to do that. And then, and when they do it, when they're bar attorneys and everything else, oh, well, we'll just overlook that. You made a mistake, or they'll send it back. Hey, you forgot to do this. And they'll work together with law firms, and that's crooked and shit.
Yeah. I mean, I literally, where's my federal book? My notebook. I kid you not, I have a 3-ring binder. And I mean, it's getting pretty full. Just, I mean, and that's just the federal court filing. I'm sitting here like, are you kidding me right now? I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
These people just, and like I said, I filed a motion to amend. I filed a petition for writ of habeas corpus, twice. I'm like, oh my gosh.
And that's why I think a lot of they're doing a lot of cleaning in the federal courts of a lot of judges and everything else,
I don't know how. Oh, there it is. Jesus Lord. Right in front of my freaking face. Let's see here. He applied Rooker Feldman. And this is my federal case file. That's not even all of it. That's not even, I haven't even put in there the 8th document, or because I'm on document 13 now. What is it? Where's it at? No, not that. Yeah, right here. Mind you, he says he seeks federal relief under 28 USC 2241C3, not 2254.
Right.
This involves ongoing civil restraint. Where'd he go? He ran away.
Where's gonna go? We lost her.
I don't
Man,
know.
I just read this entire thing.
Did you read it?
I read the whole damn thing. Yep.
Did you find it interesting?
Well, it answers a lot of things. It answers a lot of questions.
Yeah, what did he use? He used Rooker Feldman. Overruled motion for leave to participate. Yeah. Dismisses the habeas petition. Unlawful. What did he say? Dismissing habeas petition. Overruling as moot for temporary restraining order. Motion for emergency preliminary injunction. Motion for expedited hearing. Sustaining motion for leave to participate. Judgment to be entered in favor of respondents and against petitioner, termination entry.
Wow.
Like, what was the next one? The next one, he said, entry overruling emergency custody for leave to file amended habeas petition and expedite. An emergency motion for temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction to prevent ongoing constitutional violations under call of law. What did he use? He said, Roker-Feldman. What was it? Roker-Feldman doctrine, nor does it invoke statutory causes of action. What do you say? A case remarkably similar to the allegations that petitioner brings here in Lehman versus Lycoming. Miss Lycoming attempted to bring habeas petition to challenge the state court's decision to remove her children and place them in the care of a foster home. That's not. He even said, understanding Roker-Feldman presents an obstacle to petitioner's course of action. Roker-Feldman does not apply. I'm telling him, Roker-Feldman does not apply. And he still was it federal? Oh yeah, neither a habeas petition nor an action under 42 USC 1983 presents a viable federal pathway to do so. He's trying to tell me that I can't even, and I'm sitting here he even says it was a violation. Oh my God! But he keeps saying state adjudication.
Have you thought about trying to move judges?
So because they automatically appoint a magistrate and a judge.
Yeah.
This at the same time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally was like, okay, put him on notice and was hoping for the best. So I'm hoping that once he because I put the whole court on notice. So I guess I kind of would have to change venue.
Well, it might behoove you. because this judge is just hammering at you for no reason.
And I'm sitting here wait a minute here. I'm this makes no sense. He literally, his whole ruling just made no sense. I was just it says it is well understood under Roker-Feldman doctrine, federal courts do not have the ability to review the merits of state court judgments.
Right.
Including those judgments of dealing with child custody. And then it says none of which are applicable herein. Yet, as described in court's prior entry, a petition for writ of habeas corpus, with few exceptions, none of which are applicable herein, requires a person to be incarcerated in a custodial facility. This is what this judge is telling me.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the Supreme Court of the United States has recognized only 3 scenarios in which individuals who were not incarcerated were able to bring petition for writ of habeas corpus.
Right.
And I looked at their documents, their past filings in this actual court, and not one time have they ever approved a habeas in this court. Not one time. And I look back to 1970.
Did the Supreme Court rule that way about that?
No. The Supreme Court said in, what was it, either Roker-Feldman or maybe it was Lehman versus Lycoming, that was it that they had it was their duty to actually hear it.
So then this judge just gave you
a fucking runaround.
He gave you a fucking bullshit answer and then quoted the Supreme Court that wasn't even true.
Correct. Let's see here. Constitutionally unlawful restraint without finding of unfitness. That's one of them. Ground misapplication, legal standard, best interest. These are my grounds. State court acted statutory authority, violation of due process under color of law. Violation of constitutional. Coerced drug test, omission of reliable evidence, ground for unlawful judicial initiation, ex parte contact with CPS, violation of due process.
The Supreme Court has consistently upheld the importance of the writ of habeas corpus, a constitutional right that allows individuals to challenge their unlawful detention.
Correct.
The aspects of the Supreme Court. How many times has the Supreme Court used? How many times have family law cases used habeas corpus? I wonder. And then how many times has it been upheld or granted?
Interim removal proposed. Oh, right here it is. Santosky versus Kramer, emergency deprivation of family liberty evidence or finding of urgent danger presumption unconstitutional. The Sixth Circuit and Supreme Court have made clear that due process requires narrowly tailored evidence-based intervention, not summary action based on conjuncture. Interval.
Federal courts have the authority to grant habeas relief to state prisoners who can demonstrate a violation of federal law, including the U.S. Constitution.
The interim removal order imposed a continuing and unlawful civil restraint under color of law without legal justification or procedural safeguards. This violation qualifies for federal habeas corpus relief. See Braden, see Braden, and then Hicks versus Oklahoma. Constitutional proceeding. Where litigant is deprived of a record necessary to challenge a restraint on liberty, state remedies become futile or unavailable. Yeah, because I had to do judgment entered in violation of procedural safeguards, appellate review. That's Hicks versus Oklahoma. Systemic violation of due process, unlawful state restraint, liberty interest, warrants habeas relief. Okay, here it is. I think this is it right here. Where's it at? Cumulative constitutional impact. Santosky versus Kramer, Griffin versus Lomos entered judgment without ruling on objections. There are not isolated procedural errors. They can constitute a structural breakdown of the process in a proceeding impacting one of the most protected liberty interests under federal law, the right of a fit parent to maintain the integrity of a family union. Ongoing restraint of the ongoing are unconstitutionally void. The ongoing restraint on the parent-child relationship imposed under color of state law without lawful cause qualifies as custody in the meaning of 28 U.S.C. 2241C3, warranting immediate federal habeas relief. I mean, it's been upheld by the Supreme Court. Like, hey, you can't do that. Federal courts have recognized unreasonable state delay. Oh, that was for state delay. Yeah, it says, although this case arises in civil context, the ongoing restraint of familial liberty invokes the same constitutional protections. The state court's prolonged failure to address the Rule 60B, because I included that in my thing too, motion has made meaningful relief unavailable, justifying immediate federal intervention. Like, he just completely ignored it. Just ignored everything. Let's here you go.
That's insane.
This is literally. Here we go. 87. 222. No. Look. That is Exhibit B.
That is crazy.
It's right. I mean, exhibit. It's in there as an exhibit, and he just was like, "Hey, we're not even going to acknowledge that." And literally, his writings are like 2 pages, 1 page, 2 pages. Oh, we don't have subject matter jurisdiction. I'm like, dude,
that is just all insanity. So, what's your next? I mean, I know you don't want to put this out on the airwaves here, but what's your plan for your next move?
Well, I'm waiting on his ruling on the 59E. And then the next step is going to be the circuit court, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, because it's gonna. And I already, like I said, I already put him on notice. So hopefully he effectively gives a proper ruling, and he actually looks at what the hell he's supposed to be looking at, rather than, oh, she's just no subject matter jurisdiction. Like,
That's just crazy.
I'm in Ohio, where America's taken. I know what was going on. I was trying to do what my son. Yeah, I've heard that a lot about like CPS workers CASA workers. Yeah,
Mhm.
CASA worker. That's crazy. I mean, the CASA worker I had when my kids were taken, and I literally, like, I could not have asked for a better attorney. Like, my attorney, he is like the one you were talking about earlier, Gunner. He literally is like, he hates CPS.
Mhm.
He hates them. He absolutely despises them. And he was like, why did they take it? Because I didn't even know, like, if you had signed a safety plan, because this is back before I knew anything about the law, about any of this stuff is
Right.
in this whole nature. I was like, I signed the safety plan, and I had not spoken to my attorney yet. Had not spoken to him. He called me like 2 days after I had signed the safety plan, and he was like, "Did you sign anything?" I was like, "I think a safety plan." He's like, "Shit." He's like, "You just signed away your rights," and I'm like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "If you wouldn't have signed that," he's like, "we could just get it thrown out." He's like, "But he's like, I tell you what," he says, "you are the first, I'm the first one." He actually stopped being a public defender after my case because he said he could not stand it anymore. He stopped
No.
being a public defender for CPS or for, for people who were going up against CPS. But he stopped. He was like, "I can't." He says, "If the building burns down, I know who did it." But I'm like, it wasn't me, but I'm like, hey, I'm like, he hated him. He was a great attorney. I love that guy. We got along great. And he was like, but I got my kids back in less than 6 months. Like, they weren't
Wow.
even out of my house 6 months because
Wow.
he told him, he's like, she's done what you've asked her to do. She's jumped through every hoop. And I tell you what, one legal advice that he gave me and has literally helped me to this day. He said, what is written, not what they say in court, not none of that, is, he says, what is written on that order, on that piece of paper, is law. He says, that is gospel, and that is what you go by. He said, so if it says you're to do a specific, a stupid freaking parental assessment, you're supposed to go to counseling. He says,
Yep.
do it. He says, do the bare minimum. He says, because they can't say that you didn't do it. He said,
Mhm.
because even though it wasn't overly done, by CPS's expectations, you still
Mhm.
did what you were court ordered to do. He said, whatever is in black and white, there's no gray area.
Right.
He said, so just read it. He says, read it, go through it, and that's been the best advice that I've ever gotten. Like, read it. Just read it. And he was right. I was like, oh gosh. I was like, well, this is what this says, and I will really read into a lot of things, and I'm like, oh, like, I don't know if I should. But that memorandum of understanding was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he read it, and he said he read it all when we were chit-chatting.
Wow.
Darren did.
Man, you got your freaking hands tied with that judge. That's that. I
Yeah.
would recommend you try to get out of there because he's not even
Oh no.
willing to give you a shot at it.
And that's what I said. I said, dude, there's no way. I mean, I provided you so much evidence. I mean, even if you just looked at the evidence, like, you could have been like,
Right.
Yeah.
okay, hey, there is probably something here I probably should look at. Nope. I was like,
Wow.
okay. So I'm waiting on him to give me that ruling. And then I am going to, if he says, okay, I sat around with my thumb up my ass and I didn't look at it again, then I guess we're going to go to the circuit.
Now do you start researching the judge and do a little investigation? And if that judge actually has people that are in the surrounding counties or family or this or that, or any of them connected to CPSA, it's an automatic conflict of interest. That explains it. And I've seen people go down that rabbit hole that far and go, wait a minute, isn't your cousin a supervisor for CPS in another state or this or that? You can't adjudicate on any cases with CPS then, and there's conflict of interest. And when that went on the record, they didn't want that because then they were just like, well, we'll just let, then they finally let them go. Why? Because if that got on the record, it would overturn, because they specifically was a family court judge.
Yep,
that would have thrown out because everything that they ever did, if that got out. Once again, it's a cover up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, 110%.
So.
Mm-hmm. That's what I would say.
Darren, find anything else interesting in?
I'm looking. This whole thing was crazy. I'm looking at if I'm trying to find other states that have this because this is really crazy. I mean, there's a lot in this document that, you know, like by going through the screen in and outs, there's just a lot. It's like dependency is not intended to be a catch-all to streamline the categorization of referral information received. What are you talking about? Okay.
Right?
Sure, it's not. You guys are just trying to set people up and steal their kids. I mean,
on its face, on that document's face, it looks like it's supposed to be, for protecting the children. But once you actually get to looking into it and you're like, wait a minute here. Like, literally the first page says that, these people are committing collusion. I mean, it's a system.
Right.
Literally, that is a systemic, what is it? A systemic corruption? It's just corruption and bias. I mean, they're literally, and it was in black and white, and I was just like, I couldn't even believe it. I could not believe that somebody, and they signed it. I was like, oh God. I was like, that's even better. I was like, that they actually had the signatures on there that they signed it.
It says here, screen out, caretaker incapacitated, incarcerated, or death. However, arrangements have been made for an appropriate caretaker for the child. Caretaker evicted from the home with alternate arrangements for housing. Caretaker experiences financial hardship. However, child's basic needs are met. That never happens. You don't ever hear these things, ever.
No. Never. Like, they don't do the...
Like, how many cases are in your area that you can find that one of those three things are the reasons that people got TPR'd?
Oh, yeah. I literally have a girl, Joyce. She had her kids. She had her rights TPR'd for her youngest two boys. And literally, they TPR'd her. They went, her husband actually went back and fought it. And because he got his also stripped too in Illinois. And he actually got it reversed. Now get the kicker. So once he got it reversed, it should have automatically been like, okay, CPS is done. CPS is there. There was no reason he wasn't found unfit. So they should have automatically, CPS should have stepped out. No. What his freaking attorney did was they decided they were going to still keep going with CPS and doing these visits this man gets 1 day every 2 weeks for 2 hours. And he's supposed to be in reunification with his children.
Jesus.
I'm like, are you serious right now? I'm like, how is that reunification? And then the mother, he's still married.
Illinois.
He was still married to the mother. Him and the mother had to get divorced. So that way he could even get the kids back.
Mm-hmm.
that
Because
is crazy.
Refused to give him any form of visitation or anything if he had any conflict.
If they were together. Yep.
Which is a violation of constitutional right to be married.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. And I was like, wait a minute here. I was like, so then they said they literally put her on a list on, what's that stupid list called? Like, it's like for sex offenders, but it's like for child, what is it? Abuse registry? Registry, like an abuse registry or whatever. They put her on this registry for it because her old boyfriend, who she was not living with, nothing of that nature, was no longer a registered sex offender. And she had her children around this guy who wasn't on the registry anymore, who literally had to register. And it was one of those situations where the guy was 19 and the girl was like 17, and parents, got pissy pants and they filed charges on him, whatever. And, so he had to register. Okay. But literally they took her rights for her kids because they had somehow proved, mind you, I have the transcripts for all of her court proceedings. She sends them to me. And she was like, they had no case. They literally had no case. They said because she was there when he was at her dad's house and she was at her dad's house, that made her guilty of being around him.
Mm-hmm.
But mind you, he wasn't on the registry. And they didn't even confirm in court. They confirmed in court that they still had not even found out if he was even on the registry anymore.
How many people in relationships get, one parent gets TPR'd, or their reasonings is to TPR from that parent, but the other one gets like a failure to protect, or just because that they're associated with that person. Like, that happens so often.
That is bullshit. That's guilty by association.
Yeah.
You are automatically guilty until you
Mhm.
prove your innocence. And that MOU even states it right there. You're guilty
Mhm.
until you are proven innocent. You have to prove your
Yeah.
innocence. Wait a minute here. I thought it was supposed to be the other way around,
Mhm.
but it clearly is not whatsoever. I mean, I went in there and was like, I didn't freaking do anything. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, they took my kids and said that I was a shit parent, and I had to be in court the same day my dad died. Like, I was in court. I was up at 4:00 in the morning. The hospital called me and said, "You need to get
Unbelievable.
here immediately." I had to be in court at 1:30 p.m. for adjudication of my children. My ass was still there. My dad was my
Mhm.
best friend, and I was still there because you know what? Those are my kids. Ain't nobody gonna tell me that I can't. That I'm. My attorney's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "These are my kids."
But that's the thing too, though. But how many people do those things? How many people go out of their way? Because, see, once they get you into their system, it doesn't matter what happened before anymore. Like, once you are in there, like the cause for them to be in your life originally is a short period of time.
Mhm.
Once you get into their system, now it's playing by their rules, their games, and what they want to do with you, whether they want to give you your kids back or not. See, so many parents sit there and spend all this time, like, they shouldn't have been in my life because of this, like, this is why they were there, and this isn't right, and blah. That's fine, but that doesn't matter anymore.
No.
People don't understand this. Like, that's where they're trying to fight. Their whole 2 years, they're trying to fight that CPS should have never been there to begin with. But they need to realize that stuff does not matter anymore.
Mm-mm.
So they're wasting all their time and their energies and all of this stuff into fighting something that has no reason. There's no purpose to it anymore, because that ship has sailed. The second that 72-hour hearing came through and the judge said that this is fine, the fact that we moved your child and that your kids have been placed in a foster situation or whatever, the reasoning for your case being opened is gone. Now it's getting through their hoops and whatever the hell they call that saying, to get to where you need to be. And they're setting you up for failure. They're putting you into this machine.
Mhm.
They're saying you need to be here, you need to be doing this.
Yep.
Like, oh, look, how can you be late for your kids, this and that and this? Well, because my life didn't ever entail this until now.
Yep.
Right.
My life was fine. I wasn't late for things. I wasn't this. I wasn't that. My life was in my control.
Yeah.
I took care of my schedule. I made sure my needs were met, when my child's were met, and all of that. You guys are controlling my schedule now. It doesn't work for me, and now you're putting people out of work. You're doing all of these things that are completely counterproductive to getting a reunification plan to work, because you're not going to be able to meet these requests by these people.
Mhm.
But yet people they sit there and be like, well, they should have never been there. Well, shut up. Don't worry about that. Fight the fight where the fight is now.
Yeah.
You can't go back to the war. You know what I mean? Like, you can't go back to the battleground and keep fighting there. There's nobody to fight.
And my whole thing is, I figured out also that, like, if you just do what is asked of you, okay, like I said earlier, the bare minimum. If the judge orders you to do this, that's why I got my kids back in 6 months. Like, you're talking, it's not like I didn't live it. Like, I lived it. I had to do their drug test. I had to do all this other bullshit I had to do. And I did it. But you know what? I got my kids back in a short amount of time.
I mean, you're special. You're definitely a special circumstance. There's no doubt. I mean,
I know.
You're definitely one of the first of all, you're like one of the first out of thousands of people I've talked to that I've ever even talked to that actually were reunified with their kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to be perfectly honest. Like, I don't even think I've ever sat and talked with anybody that has actually been reunified.
Yeah.
To be perfect, I don't think I have.
My attorney.
I've been racking my brain this whole interview. I've never talked to anybody that's been reunified.
Yeah, like my attorney said, he says it's been very seldom. He says, and especially to get them back as quick as you did, because I did not deal with their shit personally. I did not.
Right.
I told them, I'm like, look, and when they got out of my life, when my attorney was like in December, when we had the full dismissal of it in December, my attorney, I told that woman when she showed up at my house to sign those papers, I said, I do not want to see you at my house ever again. I said, I
Right.
mean that. And I said, I will hold you to it. And when they showed up at my new house, when I moved a couple years later and they showed up, I said, I warned you. I said, I told you last time, do not come to my house.
So then, was this retaliation? Was going after your husband's kids a retaliation thing?
No, because here's the funny thing, the kicker, right? So I got my kids taken and I got them back I got them back in September or August before they even started school. And then my husband went and filed for custody of his kids in March the next year, the following year, or sorry, January, the following year. The magistrate that was assigned to him, my husband's case, was the same magistrate who I had dealt with in my CPS case.
Wow.
She apologized. She
Whoa.
apologized to my husband because CPS made him look like the biggest piece of shit that they could. But when she actually met him and got to know him, she apologized to him and she gave him full custody of his kids in 2 months. Because their mother failed to show up at any court hearing. And I'm like,
Wow.
and the judge was, but I mean, the magistrate, I mean, she was a great magistrate. And I'm just like, I couldn't even believe.
So see, you're lucky. So you're lucky. You have a great magistrate there. You had that's
Yeah.
I mean, I want people to have hope, and I want people to have faith, and I want them to know that the system's supposed. I mean, I want the system to work the way the system's supposed to work, and to keep the faith in that, because you know what, our courts are like part of like America, the vision of America. You know, like you're supposed to be able to go to the courts and get justice, but we know that there's two things that aren't tried there. One is the truth, and one is the law. Like those two things don't ever happen in court. You don't ever try those things in court. You know, it's all bullshit, lies, it's deceit, it's everything else, because those two things in court don't matter. But to keep the image of America, you have to think that, you know, even like when I went through this with my case, I thought there was no freaking way that the world would not see it the way that we saw it. Like this is a complete conglomeration of bullshit against us, and there's no way that any judge in their right mind in this fair court system that we have is going to even see it the way that these people see it. But they paint such a picture, they have such resources, and they do such a great job at making you such a piece of shit.
Oh yeah.
That it can't go any other way than that. And then to find out now down the road, you know, the money value, the monetary value that is on you and your child and your services and all of that stuff, and to know that the amount of greed in this world, there's not much that you can't get people to do with money.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, they've done experiments on this, like how much would it cost? You know, like there was that experiment, I think it was like in the 60s or whatever, where they had those people go in and they were electrocuting them, or they thought they were electrocuting people in the next room. I don't know if you've ever seen that or not. And they were offering them all kinds of money. They're like, no, and they knew that a set amount was deadly voltage to them. But yet in the other room, there really wasn't a person, but they thought there was. And they were offering these people like $1,000 in this back, like in these days where $1,000 was like $1 million
Yeah, it
now.
was like a shit ton.
And even though these people knew that turning that voltage regulator was going to go in the next room, they would still do it because of money. So there's not much that money. So once you involve these judges, the policemen, you know, whether it be a direct bonus by cash or whether it's a bonus through this or that or the other, everybody that goes to work and has a job, they're not trying to make it on their salaries. They're trying to make it on their bonuses, their incentives to stay at this job. So once you introduce money, gains to your employment and gains to you yourself by taking these children, the whole fairness game is off.
Oh yeah.
You know, because now it's like how many services, you know, like, hey, you know, Justine, if you get them into alcohol, you get them to split up and you get them to this, and this, we'll give you X amount of dollar bonus for, and you know, getting them into these cares or whatever, these things. Well, these workers now are going to try and all they can to put you into these services. Right. Right. So once you do that, fairness is out the door.
Yeah.
You know,
It's all out the door.
why aren't they incentivizing parents?
Right.
That are truly neglectful and abusive to their kids to not be, and to be good people and have their families? Why don't they do it that way? You know?
I mean, literally one of the magistrates that my husband had, so like we had 3 different magistrates on his case. right? We had the judge, the big judge, Scott Altenberger, one of the ones that signed that MOU. We had him the first hearing, and then the second hearing we had another magistrate, and then on the pretrial hearing, right? Yeah, the pretrial hearing, we had a magistrate, mind you. I myself went to school with this girl from kindergarten until she graduated the year before I did. Okay, she was the magistrate. Then my husband's mother's attorney looks to me and says, I know her. I went to college with her. We were really good friends. That is a conflict of interest. Are you serious right now?
Right.
And he admitted
Yeah,
it.
right.
I'm sitting here like, and I even put that in my motion to vacate in the court. I'm like, I know her. I've known her for years. I'm like, I know this girl personally. Like,
Mhm.
and he knows her. I'm like, I'm nobody, but he knows her. I'm like, and he's an attorney. And they still to this day have not ruled on that motion to vacate. It's been almost a year. And they still have not ruled on it. You know what I'm saying? You're like,
this is crazy. Wow.
the Stanford prison experiment. Yeah. Or that's like the one where they would make people for the sleep deprivation, where they make people look like zombies when they make them stay up for, they like put meth in the what is it, the air ducts, and they would like make them stay up for like 30 days straight, and they all look like zombies.
Yeah.
That must be what it is. The
Man, they've done some nasty shit to people in these tests. I mean, they've done some serious. Those tests back in the 60s and the 70s, man. You're like, holy shit.
I ain't never seen that. I looked it up one day and I was like, oh my god! I was like, those people they look like zombies. They,
I got that one in Russia. There's that. Well, I don't know. They say that one wasn't true. The one that was in Russia where they killed each other or something like that. I forget, it was a sleep deprivation one, and that they all ended up killing each other because they couldn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. But that's Germany.
Is that where it was? Yeah, and at the end of it, they were all dead or something, and they went back and they would check on these people, and they would be all dead. It's crazy. The experimenting stuff. When you look at this stuff, it's pretty insane. But that's But then what's true, what's not? Like MK Ultra. Look at what they're doing to everybody in this country.
Oh my god, he's MK Ultra. We cannot get on that subject.
That's for another show.
I went down that rabbit hole one day, and that was horrible. I was like, oh my god, no. I was like, this is happening. I'm like, here it is. I even had ChatGPT tell me how MK Ultra and CPS.
So it's funny. I want to take up this. I want to do this with you because I've created an AI app that I've worked on for 2 years, and it's specifically for CPS cases. And I'm like, any day now it will launch. I'm just stuck on this one set of code that I can't make work, and then the whole thing will be fine. But I should give it to you, and you should try it out and see what you think. And like, this thing puts everything into perspective. It analyzes your case for you. It tells you different things. It has had 2 years of researching itself and me researching it for it. And it's got calendars. So all your things go immediately into the calendars. You scan all your documents into it. It does everything for you. I don't want to say a lot of it over the air because I don't want a lot of people to know what it is that I have. But this thing is going to be like the next wave of what goes on in these CPS cases. And I'll tell you this, that they will never be able to pull their shenanigans again when this app comes out and people start using it that are, involved with CPS.
I tried building one myself, and I'm not a coder. So, I mean, I was like, I can tell. I mean, I know that I can generate ChatGPT to get it to like where it follows specific parameters, but it's not doing exactly what I want it to do. And I'm like, I'm not a good coder. So I'm like, I'm not even going to really touch it, mess with it. I'm like, so I was just like, okay.
Well, I will. I'll let you. I'll put it up. I'll talk to you here in a second. But and if you want, and I mean, I was also going to say, I think that you should have a show. I really do. I think you should have a show. I think you should come on here, and I think you should do something because you've got a lot of information. I mean, you won. You got your kid back. I mean, that in itself is a huge thing. And just the fact alone, if you put your face out there and you told people that you got your kid back, that amount of hope that would be given, that would give others to try harder or do whatever would be huge. It would be huge because what reason do people have to fight when they're listening to a bunch of people that haven't got their kids back? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a weird situation.
kind of like you feel like hopeless, like I'm just, all these people, have had their kids taken and nobody's gotten them back, and they're all just in one collaboration group, and it's like, no, I got my kids back, like I did.
Right, right, you won, right. So I mean, I would like you to think about that for real, like join up with this with us here, and I think whether you even just did a show a month, who knows, whatever, like whatever would fit your schedule. But I think that would be huge, because that's the biggest thing that this movement needs, is it needs someone to give them true hope and to see what reality, to see that it is a reality to get your kids back. This is somebody that has gotten their kids back, so like you have a voice that is worth $1 million because you actually succeeded in this so far. It's not saying that none of us are going to succeed. It's just taking time, and we're doing different things that are out of the box. Like that's how all of us are operating. But you did it by what they said, and you won.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that have done stuff like they have filed affidavits with our case and everything else, that actually have filed their own case, done their TRO, do have their children back. But right now, the biggest thing they can't do is just come out, just here, I got my kids back, this and that. There is so much healing and damage, and their kids have got to be their first priority. So we don't want to make the correction too, that there are people getting their children back and doing it through federal things and doing it through the TROs. It's just the kids are coming back so damaged. It's got to be their number one priority. Yeah.
And did you notice a difference? Were your kids, were they, I mean, no, you had a short period of time, but there must have been damage done.
Yeah, so mine went with my sister. My sister's not a very good person as it is anyways. And like, my kids' dad was into drugs really bad. So I kind of kept my kids away from their dad, just for their own safety. So but I would still let him, talk to him whenever he wanted. Like I had an open door policy with my kids' dad. Like, if you want to see your kids, okay, cool. You want to call them, cool. We'll talk, whatever. And my sister, I was on a safety plan. My sister, when he was in jail, he got out of jail. She let him come over whenever he wanted. I was only allowed to see my kids 1 day a week, 2 hours, unsupervised. But before that, it had been supervised. She was letting him come over. CPS wasn't mandating him to do anything. And, so my kids were getting some of their dad, which I'm thankful for now, because now he has passed away, which I'm thankful for that. But, they came back and they were my daughter. Like I said, for 2 years, I could not leave my house. Like as soon as where are you going, Mom? Where are you going? Like they were in an instant panic. Like my daughter is 10 years old now, and I think she was like five maybe. Yeah, she was just starting school. So she was 5, and she was with my sister for like 6 months or so, and she came back, and she's 10 now, and she's still to this day, Mom, where are you going? Mom.
Yeah, that constant fear.
I can't leave the house. It's like she's constantly paranoid, like I'm gonna leave her and I'm not coming back. And I'm like, Graceland, I'm fine. I'm like, I'll be right back. Like, I'm just going to the gas station or something. And she's like, can I go? Like, and I'm like, Graceland, like, I'm coming right back. Like, I'm not leaving you. I promise you, I'm not leaving you. I'm here. Like, Mom's not going anywhere. And when CPS shows up at my door, they go bye-bye too, because I don't deal with
I'm sure they probably run right away. That's probably their worst fear. I mean, that's probably
that's why
the last person.
That's why they brought the cops the last time. They don't. I don't deal with them well. I'm not a very nice person when it comes to somebody who's It's the mama bear syndrome. That's just how it is. If you're threatening to take my children, I'm going to rip your head off. Correct. I mean, those are my kids. I birthed them. That's why when I was there in court the day my dad died, my dad was my best friend, and I was there because those are my kids. That's my responsibility. That's nobody else's but mine. Their dad's gone. They're mine. That's my responsibility. Nobody's going to tell me I can't have my kids. And they do not. The last CPS worker I had, she ended up actually helping me and she got me a microwave.
Wow. See, you know what? You just got stories that are positive in that direction. Because that's thing Those are things that just don't happen. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, but these are just, like if they want, like CPS, if they want anything, if they want you to do services or they want this or that or the other, then their responsibility is to provide you with those things. So if you lose your house and CPS says you need housing, they're supposed to provide you with housing. Anything that CPS tells you that they need for services, you're supposed to get. Even drug tests, you don't ever hear anybody saying that, like most of the people I hear from, oh, they have to pay for this, they have to pay for that. No.
I never had to pay for a drug test, but I will tell you this. If anybody who ever has to take a drug test through CPS, my state, my county does mouth swabs. Okay. Go on that. Look who on the next time anybody ever has to take a drug screen, look on that drug screen and look at the company that they do the drug screen with, right? Get on that company's website and look at their cutoff levels. And you're going to shit your pants, because I shit you not. When I looked on this company's website, the cutoff level for any form of drugs was 0.3 nanograms. That is 3 drops of water in an Olympic swimming pool.
Now, what does that mean? What do you mean by that? So what do you mean the cutoff point is what? What do you mean by that?
So when you go for a drug test with an employer, right? You take a piss test, okay? If you're doing drugs or whatever, like their regular cutoff is like in a regular drug screen, it's like 500 nanograms, right? That's their cutoff level. So if you're under that, you're gonna not test positive, right? You're gonna test negative. But if you go over that 500 nanogram limit, you're gonna test positive. Okay. A normal for a job, a normal urine analysis cutoff levels are 500 nanograms. This mouse swab's cutoff level was 0.3. 0.3.
So that means you have to have like barely, that's like next to nothing.
Correct. It does not matter if you take a prescription medication. If it comes up as that, whatever that was, they don't care. They don't, but I'm telling you, look at that company's actual freaking, because they have it on their website. It's all public information. I did that and was like, oh my God, 3 nanograms? I couldn't even believe it.
Wow. Well, I mean, I guess that's why those, the tests, drug screens are mostly this tests that they give you are drug screens. They're not drug tests, which drug screens aren't admissible in court. But I imagine that that's probably part of that difference too, is drug screens and drug tests are 2 different worlds. So, I imagine that that's probably part of that whole situation with the amount of nanograms and so on and so forth, and the accuracy. I mean, one of them tests your pH level, which is, like screens will test your pH levels. Like when you pee in the cup and they have like the 13 things that you can look at or whatever, that's all based on your pH balance. So, I mean, anything can throw those tests off.
Yeah. And that's
the same thing. What you're saying, like a 0.3, that could be anything that's in anything,
And literally they will say that, oh, you tested positive. That shit right there is how they get you. That is how, I don't care. Don't you ever take a drug screen for CPS. You know what you tell CPS, because the last time this happened to me in court, when they took my kids back in February, the CPS requested that I get a hair follicle. Okay. I said, there was no allegations of me doing drugs. I was like, why do I have to? I asked the magistrate, I said, can I object to this? I was like, because there was no allegations of me doing drugs. I was like, so why should I have to be tested? And he was like, well, you can object to it. And I was like, oh, I can? Cool. Well, I object. I said, I'm not taking a drug screen. I said, especially a hair follicle. Wanted my husband to do a hair follicle. He literally has a buzz cut. How is he supposed to do a hair follicle? She's ignorant. And I was like, so he ended up doing a urine analysis at the courthouse. You know what I told him? I told him no, I wasn't doing shit for him. And I went to the hospital and I got my own drug test. And you know what? They have to allow it. They cannot not allow it. They have to, because it is a valid, doctor verified. It is a medically verified document that says you were clean by a doctor. So the next time they want you to do a drug test, you take your ass to the freaking emergency room and tell them, I need a drug screen. I think I got my shit laced last night at a bar. You know what I mean? Like, I think that, and then that way, okay, here's my drug test results. I mean, they can't not accept them. And literally, I had my kids back the next week. Actually, I had them back the end of that week.
Now that's crazy too, because a lot of times CPS will tell you that they won't accept they won't accept anybody else's drug test. But is there legal proof and documentation that they have to?
No, that's their policy. No,
Okay.
they don't have to. They can. Okay, so they can. So it was they can refuse to allow it. But if you take that into court and you say, here's these clean drug screens,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that judge is going to look at you and say,
That's
those
not a
aren't
CPS drug screen, right?
Yeah, he's going to say, well, what's going on, guys?
Right.
Why won't you accept these?
Mm-hmm.
He more than likely is going to be like, oh, well, that, because I also was told that because like they had sent me to counseling. Well, they told me that at the counseling center that I was going to, and they were drug screening me, that those weren't accepted. So can you have your own private drug screening? You can have one done like by your doctor. Yeah. I mean, you can't necessarily like do one at home and be like, here's one I did, because they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, well, we accept that. Well, I mean, if you did that in front of, but at the hospital, I mean, they can't refute that. How can they refute that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's illegal for them to do that because, well, it's in your medical record. They can't say, oh, well, that's not true. And you also have the right to an independent evaluation. Just like their specific providers that they send you to, these people that they send them to, you have a right. It is your right to request your own provider for any like mental health services, anything of that nature. You don't have to go through theirs. They want you to go through theirs because they want you to, because they already have to say what they want them to say and find what they want them to find, and they work for them. They don't work for you, they work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, is that but when you go to somebody who is truly biased, doesn't know you from Adam, doesn't know them from Adam, that's fair. But if you're going to their people are automatically biased. Their people are automatically impartial. They're automatically doing everything, and I guarantee they're on the payroll somewhere in there. They're on the payroll.
There's something that comes up with them on it somehow, some way.
They're getting a kickback somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to do what they want them to do, not what's best for you. I don't care what anybody says. I've seen it way too many times for that not to be true. I have too many friends that have literally lost their kids, and literally, I had a girl in my own town messaging me one day, and I was telling her, I was like, tell these CPS workers, no, they need a warrant. They can't do this. They can't do that. She did not listen to me. I said, girl, I got my kids back in less than 6 months. I said, why would you not listen to me? And she was like, well, I didn't think. And I'm like, that's the problem. You didn't think. I'm like, you're talking to somebody who lived it, who did it. I did it. I'm like, and that's big. I'm like, because like you said, that is big. That's a lot of people don't get their kids back. And it was a struggle. It was a fight. But I did not give up. I did not give in. Because I refused. And when they showed up here, my kids' dad was actually dead by then. And I was like, look, I don't know why you guys think that, it's okay for, I'm like, those kids are the only parent that they have is me. I was like, all those kids have is me. I was like, and you would threaten to take them again? I said, after the damage that you did the last time? Are you guys serious right now?
That's crazy.
And
now, can I ask you what the difference in what their difference was what when they came back and they tried to take them again? What happened?
They weren't as just, I don't know. I think they were more emotionally scarred. Like,
no, I'm talking about with CPS. Like, did they just come back to harass you, or was their reasoning like absurd? Like when they came back, or
they came back?
Was it just like a bullshit they came back just to mess with you?
They came back. Well, they came back. Well, they've gotten to the point where they don't come just one. Okay. They
Mhm.
always come with more than one. Um, she came back too because they had allegations that my son got mad at me because he had sat and played on his game system that I had bought him for like 12 hours straight. I asked him to get up and clean up, his room a little bit. He
Mhm.
got mad at me and I took his Xbox away and I returned it. Okay, I'm a bad mom,
Mhm.
whatever. I returned his Xbox.
Right.
And he got mad at me and he went and told the teacher that my husband beat the shit out of me, beat the shit out of him,
Oh my
and
God.
um he went to school the next day and told, I don't know who the hell he told. But CPS showed up and was like, I answered the doorbell. I have a Ring doorbell. And I answered it. I was like, hello. And she's like, uh, can this is see, and I said, why are you at my house? She's like, well, we got alligator. And I said, hold on. I went to the door. I was like, what do you want? What are you guys here for? Well, we got a report that your husband beat you and Mason. And I'm like, okay. Did you here's a simple thing. Am I wearing any makeup right now? No. I said, do I have any bruises? Do I have a black eye? Do I look like I was beat up? And she's like, no. And I said, well, have you seen Mason? I said, because, well, I already know you went to the school and had a nice talk with him, didn't you? And
Oh, Jesus.
she was like, well, he didn't have anything on him. I said, so why the fuck are you here?
Mhm.
I said, just to harass me? She says, well, we're gonna have to we want to speak to all the kids. I said, okay, that's fine. Come back when they get home from school, 3 something o'clock. They came back. All 5 kids are outside. Well, can we talk to? No, you cannot speak to my children alone. No. Well, can we come in the house? No. Do you have a warrant? I don't think so. No. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap everything up here. I'm like,
Yeah. Yes, you are.
yes, you are. Thank you. Have a good day. But then when they came here in February, that was the first time they came back after. And then in February when they came here with the police. They weren't even fucking playing around. They were just like, I got home. I got home and the cops were sitting parked in front of my driveway. So it was like to make that I couldn't leave even if I was trying to, I guess. I don't
Mhm.
know. But they were parked at the end of my driveway. I couldn't even turn into my driveway and park. I had to park on the street and I see these 2 people walking up my sidewalk. And I get out of my car and because they had parked literally like a block and a half away from my house. Okay.
Wow.
And there is a cop sitting in front of my driveway. My neighbors, her grandson he was always in trouble and stuff. So I thought that maybe the cops were here for them. So when I
Mhm.
walked up to the house, I was like, are you here for 1360 or 1362? And they were like, I'm just here to, what do you say? I'm here to keep the peace, or pretty much I'm here to just speculate on this CPS case. And I'm like, really? I turn around and this girl walks up with her supervisor and she's like, Becca. And I was like, yeah. I said, what do you want? Well, this, and this. And she's like, and I'm like, okay, do you have a warrant? No. I said, well, then I guess this conversation is over. I went to walk back in the house. She's like, we're going to go get one. I said, that's okay. I said, you get a warrant. You can come in my house all you want. I said, but you need a warrant. We're going to go get one. I said, well, that's fine. 20 minutes later, my mom comes over to pick up my son. And she's like, I can't take him anywhere. They have custody. I said, what? I said, no, they don't. I walked over to him and I'm recording them on video. And I said, what do you mean you have custody of my kids? Well, we got an emergency removal order. I said, you didn't say that you were getting an emergency removal order. You said you were going to get a warrant. And she was like, and he's like, well, after all the allegations. And I said, all the allegations. Well, the kids that mind you. Okay, here's how this whole CPS issue got started. My husband's kids had a in-camera interview with the magistrate 2 days before CPS showed up at my house. 2 days. CPS showed up at my house. So I call out the fact that the magistrate, that the in-camera interview was that's how they got all this information. And then they straight told me that that's where they got the information from. And my kid that supposedly said all this comes walking out behind me. I had this on video. Comes walking out behind me and says, I didn't say that. Y'all are liars. And they were like, well, we're taking you guys still. And I was like, watch this. And they even left him in shelter care on that Monday. Even after we disproved him and everything, they still left him in they left him in shelter care on that Monday. Until we went the next day to CPS. I submitted a drug screen. They came and checked out the house and they dismissed it. And I had my kids back by Friday. They weren't even gone a week. It was that easy.
Jesus almighty.
But I was like, really? Like, but I mean, literally traumatized my children, because my kids immediately are like, oh my God, we're never going back
again. Right.
They're gone again. Oh my God,
it's harassment to them too. Right.
Yeah. I'm like, that they just don't understand and they don't get the trauma. And I literally told them that last time that I dealt with them and I had them in my life for 6 months. I'm like, you guys don't even know what you do to people's kids.
Mm-mm.
I was like, mentally, I was like, do you know how fucked up people's kids are because of you guys?
Mm-hmm.
I never had to deal with CPS when I was growing up. Like, I never dealt with that. My dad always said that they were like bed bugs. They were could never get rid of them.
This is the truth, man.
People are like, damn bed bugs. They're hard to get rid of once you get them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, but I was like, I never had to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they came over and I was like, they wanted to come in my dad's house. And I'm like, me, myself, and my dad was a big stickler for not letting people in his house. And I'm like, I can't give you authorization. He's not here. I'm like, I'm not telling you can come in his house. That's not my job.
Now, what did they say to you about that when you said that you couldn't let them in your dad's house?
They said, well, we need to come in. I said, my dad is not here. Because at this point, he had a massive heart attack, was in a nursing home. So he wasn't there. And I was like, I'm not letting you in my dad's house. I was like, he is not here to give you permission to come in his house. I am not giving you permission. And no, you may not come in. And she's like, okay. I'm like, she's like, well, when is he coming back? I don't know. Whenever he gets out of rehab. Like, what do you want me to say? I don't know how long it's going to be. And, and but then when he finally did come home, they asked and he was like, yeah, sure. Come on in. Like, I'm like, but it wasn't my place to give them that permission because it's not my house. I mean, yes, I was living with him because he was older and he was 75 and, he had a massive heart attack. He couldn't walk, so I had moved in with him to take care of him, but it still wasn't my place to give permission for them to be in his house.
Mm-hmm.
So they were upset about that, but I mean, they got over it. But I mean, eventually, like I said, last time I asked if they had a warrant, they just retaliated and just took them.
Never even talked to me.
Never even talked to my husband, who's, mind you, 5 kids. 3 of those are mine, but 2 of those were his. But never even talked to my husband and just was like, oh, we're taking him.
Wow.
What?
For no reason. Just I mean, not no reasons, but without any sort of anything, they just take him.
No concrete evidence, just from what the magistrate, mind you, this right here is how they get away with it. That MOU is exactly how they get away with it. They have communication with CPS and the ex parte communication. That's illegal. That is illegal. And they put it on paper.
Yep, it's collusion.
What?
Wow.
And they put it on paper. And I'm like, yeah, you guys screwed up here.
And it wasn't the kids making allegations.
And it wasn't the kids.
Deborah,
it was literally it was literally my mother-in-law was the one that filled her lawyer in. Her lawyer called the magistrate.
Unbelievable.
And
that is crazy.
What hecka is Becca saying? What hecka? What?
I was just say, that's absolutely crazy. What hecka is Becca saying?
Yeah, I was trying to figure that one out.
What the heck? Probably
What the heck is Becca saying?
But yeah, the lawyer took what my mother-in-law stated to him and went and called the magistrate, because like I said before, they were friends. They went to college together. They were good friends in college.
Mm-hmm.
Went and called the magistrate, my husband, one time. And in that whole instance, my husband called his mom's attorney after the kids were back and said, like, CPS came here, tried to take them. And he says, well, let me call the magistrate.
No, I told CPS
And
drop the case.
let me call the magistrate and see where she's leaning. See how she's leaning.
See how she's leaning? What?
Yeah.
Yep. How she's leaning on this case, because I was trying to get everything taken care of out of court before we went for the trial, and that was his response to me. I'm gonna call her and see where she's leaning on the matter.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm like, wait, that's ex parte communication. Like, they can't do that. I'm like, what are they doing? I'm like, and the fact that they just openly admit it is just insanity.
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Well, hey, I know that Breaking Brenda's waiting to come on, so I think that we got to kill this so that she can get in, because I'm pretty sure that that's Brenda right there. But can we do this? Can we do this again? Because I would love to have you on again, or you know what? We can talk about it after this. Just chill right here for a second, and then we can shoot the breeze off the air. If that's cool with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
You cool with that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm gonna end this, and then just stay right here, and I'll be right back.
All right.
All right. Everybody, thank you guys very much for this. This is great, and we will be right. We'll be right back. Well, no, Breaking Brenda will be right back. I'll be right back with you. I'll be right back.
I wander around my head feeling lost. It's been so long since I've seen you, I'm so depressed. I don't want to forget you, so I won't rest. This is my calling, this is God's test. I wonder why he chose this road for me. It's hard to think this is my destiny, but God, you the creator, you surely knows. So please explain the journey, let's go. You must have faith, that's all. God will not let you fall, for in the end there's a lesson. So keep the faith, keep on pressing. I think about you 100 times a day. It's no way to keep the pain away. I'm so scared of forgetting your smile, so I look at pictures of my child. It breaks my heart we lost her so young. We missed all the tender times, can't be redone. Please God, stop the pain, this is no fun. I know that God has the plan. I don't understand who I am. I do know I have the faith to pray to God from any place. Please God, make this pain end. It's a nightmare that should have never been. My faith in you is guiding my way. Excuse me, God, I have to say, give me back my baby, I'm not playing around. She's a piece of my life. I'll do anything for you now. flag is waving high above the fray. The fight begins right here today. Raise the flag, we won't back down. With hearts of fire, we'll take this town. United voices, loud and clear. The Punisher's call, you've gotta hear. Marching through the chaos with unyielding pride. Gunners by my shoulder with a rising tide. The world can try to break us, but we'll never fall. Parents standing tall, we've answered the call. Raise the flag, we won't back down. With hearts of fire, we'll take this town. United voices, loud and clear. The Punisher's call, you've gotta hear. Fight for what's right, never lose our ground. Every heartbeat pounding with a roaring sound. Through the fire, through the rain, we're standing strong. Together we'll rewrite the wrong. Raise the flag, we won't